Okay, we have episode 5 at Urban Race Cars here with Mark and Cameron, and everybody did actually ask good questions. I was surprised. I think my 11-minute coaching session to ask good instead of shitty questions worked. So we will have Cameron read the questions, and I would like for him to favor you guys instead of like stuff I can answer any day. So if you can.
All right. First one, this guy Street Smart 660. I think he just wanted to tell everybody about the 67, 68, 69, that they were just like congratulating you on how well you knew the difference. There's a bunch of replies. All right, question for all three. What was your most satisfying moment with the finished build? Also, Matt, where does your hatred for S10 stem from?
We'll start on your end. Like, what does it say?
Most satisfying moment with the finished build.
With any build, I guess.
For me, it's easy. It was when it went 996 the first time back in 2013. It was the third pass of the day. I was out of ice. The first pass it went 10-0, and I was like, well, there went that chance. It's not going to do it again because I muffed the launch on the next one, and then like my friends were leaving, and I was like, one more shot, and I went out there, and it left decent because I didn't have anything for suspension. I still don't really have anything for suspension, and then it went 996 at 139, and they handed me my time slip. I was wearing my blue hoodie and a Walmart aisle 7 helmet, and they didn't say a fucking word.
Aisle 7, like a Huffy accessory helmet?
I still have
That's
it.
nice.
I'm gonna update some stuff soon because everybody keeps giving me shit. But I was in second gear, I think, and I was reading the time slip as I was driving away, and I just stabbed the throttle and laid like some 11s and went back to the pits, and then my buddy Dylan and everybody was there. They were like, they're losing their minds. I'm like, that's just really happy because it was a Gen 3. That was a Gen 353 with the Precision 76 till 7675. It was out of ice. It was probably like approaching 100-degree intake air temps.
All the things people tell you not to do.
Well, I had people look up the DA that day because that was a Gen 3 motor, and it was like negative. Like it would have never done it any other day.
Yeah.
And it did it, and then I had a bunch of issues. Right after that, everybody's like, you should do twins and take the car apart. And then I had another kid, and then 3 years later, the car's finally back together and running. Where the fuck? So yeah, they don't even know that they'll see the video.
Yeah, you can say it. You can say it.
Yeah, because today we just dynoed my car and made 884 and 800 torque. But that video you'll make will probably come out before this. So yeah, it's running great now. Yeah, stop there.
That's
So
right.
what about you?
I think the best or the most satisfying moment was when we ran 7s with the Mustang.
Yeah, that's
You know, we, I don't know if everyone knows the story about the car, but basically bought it, had a 6.0 in it, blew up the first night, literally bought the car, brought it back here, went to Island that night, broke it. It was 30-something degrees out. Matt was there, kind of met Matt for the first time, really. Kind of, I knew of him, but just kind of got to meet him face to face. I'm like, what do you think of this turbo? He's like, oh, it's a Master Power 76. I'm like, where the fuck's that made? He's like, oh, it's Brazilian. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, fucking Brazilian wax, let's turn this thing on. So, because I used to run the Grand Nationals at the time and shit like that, and Target doing head gaskets. So that night it was like 30-something degrees. The water box froze at the end of the night. I had to go around the fucking ice cube. I fucking hit it. The car went like 1040 at 139.90 or some shit. Came back around. I was all happy just to start racing again because I haven't raced anything really in a long time. That was remotely as close as that. And then brought it home. And then the next day I start the car to pull off the trailer. I'm like, what the fuck is that noise? It sounds like the fucking thing's rapping bad. But I broke a ring lamp. And pretty common practice for a stock bottom end motor. And the bug, I was hooked at that point in time. And then obviously progressed to the, I found the fucking short block on Craigslist and the Cali's crank and the rods in it and put the 317s on that, classic intake, and then we converted it from, no intercooler and E85 to gasoline and Chinese intercooler. And we got to go 832 on the pump gas at 163. But the most satisfying thing was when we brought it to fucking Cecil for the year-end celebration, because that car, like Matt said, there was never a disappointing time with that. It was like, we go to dyno, we work out some bugs, we pick up fucking big time.
We would stumble into like 100 extra horsepower or do whatever and like launch it and pick up 2/10. And we're like, what are we doing? We don't know.
Right, the suspension worked great. Everything just kind of just worked in that car, including the power windows. But, I mean, the car went 9-1 at 100. almost 148 on the little fucking Master Power 76, and
That was the first turbo I ever had.
Yeah.
On mine, it went 699 to the 8.
That was the cheapest thing.
Yeah,
I
it's
found.
fire.
What's funny is like that was a cheap turbo, and we paid like $860 for it for Corey's truck when he built this 2010
I paid a lot
brand
for
new.
my first one.
It was like eight. It was like 8 and change.
And you can't buy anything for them. I
The
don't think.
entire Denmark kit's like $860 shipped now.
Yeah.
right, it's crazy.
Ridiculous.
It's fucking insane. And then that had an LS6 cam in the fucking car, which I did like a pussycat. You pull it, I was driving around, I had a 3-inch fucking muffler coming up the side. So it sounded
Barely
like,
hear it.
yeah, you could barely hear the car. It would sound like a vacuum cleaner. You take off, I was like, what the fucking thing, like the 127 60-foot little
Yeah.
turbo. It was like, shh, the whole fucking track. I was like, what the fuck? And you could drive it anywhere. We just had that was just a great little combo. I wish it would have went $899 because I probably would have left it like that. But then we changed the cam and the turbo, and then we went fucking.
That was like a racing junk buy. You bought that bill at 80. And that was it.
Yeah, I put up a guy that sent me a video. He's like, "Oh, I had it in my G body. He's doing a burnout like in a trailer park, drifting it through like dust fucking lanes." I'm like, "Oh my god, this turbo must look like a real abortion." He's like, you know. So I ended up negotiating that deal. I got the turbo, and it was working okay until it started for oil and fucking turned purple. But then Jose hooked me up, set that fucker up, and then the rest is history. But yeah, when that car just hooked him, and you know, it's funny because that day at Cecil, the first pass, it was fucking cold out. And Nestor's like, "Hey, we gotta loosen that suspension up, dude. We gotta tweak this thing." So we loosened the thing up, and I left on the trans brake, and the fucking thing did a wheelie, came back down, tried to pedal it, bounced the thing back up. It comes up even higher. I'm like, fuck, I lift, it slams the front end down, it drags the fucking rack on the ground. I'm like, oh shit. And then I went like 970, like coasting through, and then Martin comes
That's
over
on
and he
video.
goes,
I think 3
Martin's
wheelies
like,
at least.
yeah.
Two at least, but I think 3 wheelies in that video.
Martin's like, send me the video. So they sent me the video. He goes, that thing went faster, fucking bouncing the nose and dragging the thing down the track. Then my other car went best of the fucking small block Ford with nitrous on. But and then you know we got the suspension dialed in a couple hits later, and it laid down the back-to-back 7 passes, you know, which was fucking remarkable. And like I said, we stopped. At that point, we probably could have pushed it further, but it was just nice that I was happy. But like you know, you always find the limit when you keep pushing. And
Yep.
I'm like, you know what, I'm happy right now. Sometimes you gotta just take what you got.
Yeah, just like Matt always says, if you go that fast, everybody asks you how, and if you would have blown it up the next
Yeah.
pass, everybody
Right, you're a
more.
fucking idiot.
Yeah,
That's why
right.
you stop.
This is why you
Right.
blew up.
Right.
No,
What are you
yeah.
doing with the 4-hole head pushing like that? Fuck that.
Yeah. What about you, Matt? Do you have one that stands out the most?
I
Most
think
satisfying?
Fairmont 3 was like the most satisfying build I had.
With the 1,000-foot burnouts and then with 960.
Yeah, because it was like a junky Fairmont, and then I put in like everyone's like, well, the 7665 paperhead gasket at 4.8, stock computer, all that stuff's junk, and then like doing a single pump and all that stuff is no good. And then I was using a returnless LS1 intake manifold, so like I blew it into a regulator and then into the intake and then regulated it, like the crossway regulated.
Mhm.
Like a lot of it was like it was like the build that everyone says none of it works, and I put it all together, and with the stock cam it went 10s, and then I changed the cam and it picked up 10 mile an hour with the 4.8 with the paper head, and I just thrashed it endlessly. Never
That was
had
one
an
with
issue
the really
with it.
ugly, hot side, wasn't it?
Yes, with the
That
yeah.
everybody posts from time
Yeah,
to time.
so I
like,
built the
when your
hot
bro
side
says,
was
when your buddy
disgusting.
says he can weld.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah.
Yeah, that had the
11s.
disgusting hot side and everything, and it would easily, like you could cut a 2.0 60 foot, like you were sleeping eating ice cream, and it would go 1070 at 136, which is, I know for sure, faster than most people have ever been or own or know their friend owns.
Right.
And because that was just like all the bullshit stuff. And then for fun, I called up like Reiner's. I'm like, would you build me a really awesome forward-facing hot side? I'm gonna call Jose because Jose's telling me that a good turbo is worth the money, so we're gonna see. And then I did a 5.3 that I didn't even look if the rods were any good or not. I was like, it's better not knowing. And I put the Jarrett cam in, it was never specified for that. And then I put that 5.3 in the forward-facing kit on, and that car was cool and fun, and I dynoed pretty good. And then Jamie and I just drove it down to the tractor one day, and my one and only hit, I blasted, like, I was like, if it goes 9s, I'm done.
Right.
If it goes 140, I'm done. It went 960 at 140. But that was similar like yours, where I did no wrong. Like, everything I did just did good, and I just thrashed it and let everybody I know drive it. And
Right. It's perfect.
yeah. So it was simple too. Both of those combos cost nothing to build.
Yeah, it's the best part when you have very low expectations and little money invested, and it fucking just works out instead of dumping.
I mean,
The other way.
I struggled. Because I knew like because some people might say like maybe the first car you went 9s in, I was proud of that, but I struggled so hard to peg it in.
Oh yeah,
and like I had a shit converter and everything, and it was like
Magnum
I'm
80.
saucing it like 180 shot out of the hole. It doesn't 60 foot any better.
With meth.
It just goes into more converter slip sooner.
Right.
It didn't matter. Like I was just steaming it to go 999.
I think that's when I first started finding your videos.
Yeah.
I'm like, I fucking want to do that.
And the other car, like Fairmont 3, I'm like, ugh, and it goes 9.6, like it just shits on everything else we ever built, and I'm like,
Yep.
whoa, okay. And it was on that car too. Was on the smallest tire I ever run, like the smallest Nicky Thompson I could buy.
235, wasn't it?
235.
That's insane.
26 by 7 or whatever the fuck it is.
It's fucking crazy.
On 10 holes and like
Yeah.
with my wheel caps still on.
But
yeah.
That's fucking.
the next one, I don't know if you want to give us any attention. It says what's going to be done with all the trolling smartasses on Sloppy. It's like we turn the admin approval.
Yeah. Easy answer.
What was the setup on the white notch, meaning engine, turbo, fuel, rear
Oh
end
my
gears?
god. It had like 3 iterations.
Yeah.
I guess they want to know how it
Yeah.
went 7s.
Right.
Even I know that.
This
It's
is
not even
my
car.
assumption.
I
Yeah.
could rattle it off. I'll try.
Yeah.
It was a 403, a billet 84 with a 96 backside, 132, a 400 with a hipster.
158 outside.
It was a 158?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
156.
Well,
158.
fuck.
It's a bigger one.
Let's
Yeah.
see if I can go 9 for 10.
Yeah.
I know it was a regular 400 with a hipster
Close
brake,
enough. You had 90.
308
Yeah.
gears, the 295
Yep.
rear tires,
Yep.
33 spline axles,
35s.
35 with a 9-inch ends or eliminators.
9 chance.
That's what I want to do someday. And then just the 850 sorting and it weighed like what, like 31?
30, 50 with me.
It was basically a roller with
30,
a
50, 37,
403.
depending on, like,
Yeah, and on
gas,
C6,
yeah.
on C16.
It was
Uh,
like
air to air.
an off-shelf 400-inch stroker.
And a little junk can.
Yeah,
mention that.
regular 8.8. Nothing special anywhere. 84 millimeter.
It was
Pump gas 830s.
home built fucking.
We
turbo
probably,
pump.
I think, I talked about it many times, and I always say there's more left in it, but I think we could have gone 7s on pump fuel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we could have.
There was not much of a gap between how much I leaned on it on race
Yeah,
at all,
I
so.
mean, 310s. I mean, we could have done it. So if we would have fucking kept so we can. But you know, when you're running 4-bolt heads and any fucking detonation, you'd be pushing water, and you push water in the tires at 176.
Yeah.
You're fucking.
And then we pick up like 4 or 5 mile an hour out of nowhere, and I'm like, how much longer can we continue this dynamic?
Yeah.
Yeah, went 140 in the 8th.
Quit while you're
2360 foot. I was like, that's a pretty good place to be right there.
yeah.
People quit, and it was wheeling to the left. It was power wheeling out to the left. You see, you've seen the one video. You actually hear it screech as I try to correct it without fucking getting out of the groove too far before I lose it. But yeah, that was a fun ride. Man. I missed that car. I mean, but like Matt says, you know, you hold on to it. It's always then you'd have you know.
At some point, it's
going
gonna go downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah. What my friend wants to tune his 2003 Suzuki, also GLS1. He wants to know Mega Squirt, doesn't know which version. He should pick up any tips. I mean, what's a 2001 Suzuki? Also GLS.
Also LS1. We'll skip it.
Okay.
I'm not gonna try to figure out what that guy's asking.
A roadkill.
All you have to do is ask a question correctly once.
talking,
Just once.
talking about your shirt. All right, the law. Yeah, the roadkill. I guess I'll give Dallas Moto some attention. He can show his friends. The law. Why did you go for the LS over a modular engine 5.3 versus 4.6? Well, I did have a 4.6 in it, and it went. I eventually got to go 1190s and then 1180s one time. It was a full bolt-on. Don't call it for guys that don't like to be called cams bolt-ons. So I would say full bolt-ons with nitrous, but we got cams. So I guess cams aren't a bolt-on. I got an argument one time. So it was full bolt-on with cams, the high-tech stage 2 or whatever, long tube headers. I sprayed like a 125-ish shot and it went 1180s at 113 or 14, I think, in the
Dang.
quarter. Yeah, it was the first.
That was a good 60 foot, huh?
It was 175. That was leaving on all of it. Would have had a 355 rear gear because I was too afraid to gear it. I'm like, oh, I'll do it on 355. There was probably more left in it. You know, I probably could have done some more, but I just wanted to drive it. It was my daily at the time, I think.
Cause I
Yeah, I didn't have another
went
car.
12 with my 2-valve Mustang,
Yeah.
and it didn't really cut that great of a 60 foot, but I would go 1250 on 112. Yeah.
So then but I did have a mod motor. You could just go on my page, YouTube, it's Cameron Vic, and you just go back like 5 years, and you'll see it. And I bombed the engine. Well, I nicked a piston or a plug. We put a thread cert in it, then went out and went faster the next weekend, then really hit it. We tried to put a plug in it, it didn't do anything, so we cracked a ring line or something, and I was like, oh God. I was on my way to my buddy's house to borrow a truck to drive to Missouri or something to buy a built 2 valve. Like I had the money, I'm like, I'm doing it. And my buddy was like, dude, Wes was like, let's just do an LS motor. And I was like, I'm like, are you gonna help me? He's like, I got a buddy that can help you with the motor mounts. I'm like, say no more, fam. And I went back home and Missy, well, nah, I can't remember. But anyway, I was like, I'm not gonna do it. And then I found a short block and then did all the shit you're not supposed to do, like took the heads off, you know, did a camera, all that shit, and it blew it like 4 months. Well, after I got it back together, it took like a year, but eventually got it figured out where I'm at. But I did have a mod motor first, and I just wanted to try something different. I'm not brand loyal. I don't give a fuck. And when people go, can't believe you didn't leave it Ford, and I'm like, I want to go get my title, and it says Cameron Powers. Like my
people are quick to say modulars are good, but that's like they're like, oh, I have an 03 Cobra takeout.
Yeah,
like,
that you paid $8,500 for.
Okay, yeah, that's far cry from $200 to $600 engine that we all have.
Okay.
But yeah, like him and I are making high 8s now on literally a $500 motor.
Yeah, it's insane.
And it's stock
I
intake.
traded this one. I traded my buddy.
Oil pan.
My buddy, my whole drivetrain's from a box truck. My buddy Mike owns doesn't own. He works at a furniture store, and every time one of their 4LADs or engine starts making a noise, this one ran hot, is what it is. And it's in a box fan. Nobody wants to fucking put a water pump on an engine in a box truck, so they're like, it's bad, and they just call it bad, and they just yank it out, and it sits in his garage for a year or two, and I'm like, what are you gonna do with that? I'll blow up an engine, and I'll be like, hey, what are you gonna do with that? And he's like, oh, I was gonna put in this, but you can have it for $100 or something. So I'm building them a 4R70W and giving it to him, or I'm gonna do it this winter, so that's why he gave it to me. And then I got rods from one person, pistons from another person, and then balanced it all. Anyway, Mark,
Yes.
what headers are you running on your 67 Street Camaro, which is...
Yeah, the 67 has the eBay forward-facing, 155-hour ship fucking headers with
Ching
gaskets.
chongs.
Ching chongs. The cheapest shit you can look at. And then we just basically cut on those. Yeah, because
They were up against your rad, basically.
yeah, well, we
shorten
trimmed them down short, and then we evened them out because, you know, obviously the heads are a little offset, so we chopped them in, you know, the same overall length, and then we just cut holes and welded in the wastegates right before the elbows. It works good.
Well, wastegates like
What are you
that.
doing? It's a shit location.
45.
It's never gonna work. You're gonna fucking run away
45.
the boots. So, I mean, basically, I just have them sprung, and it makes about 17, 18-ish, and
Is that on gate? What do you have? What pressure do you hear?
It just
Is there AMS on this? Oh, that's gate?
No, there's nothing. It's just there's
Yeah,
not a reference hook to it, nothing. It's just
all of
it's
it.
just sprung.
So that's what it'll do?
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Like I was saying, I
Yeah.
just pulled the references and everything,
Okay.
and it makes like 17, 18.
it's perfect.
It's just on
So
all
What
of
did
it.
you make in that?
It made 813.
813.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know.
And we just drive
Better
it.
match.
I got 4,500 miles on that build, and it just, you know, it just keeps going. So everyone's like, you need air filters, you need this. I'm like, fuck it, it's a $300 turbo. But, you know, it's a big deal. It's like a bird drill. It was a good motor. But it loves it. But yeah, you have the little smaller version of those, right?
Yeah, I have a slightly smaller compressor. I don't know if the cam design's better for the, not better.
Yeah.
Fucking get cam guys all wound up who's the cams.
But
But
you have a jerrycan in there?
yeah.
Well, that's my problem. I'm not gonna mention this.
I don't know if
I'm
like,
just kidding.
because I mean, I can come up with some theories, but I don't know, because then you write it all down, and somebody goes, this is why this combo works better. Yeah, because I have the same backs. What turbines do you have in there, though? What house?
65. Oh, there's not other.
Because I got the 1.0, so I don't know if that's what's choking yours, but no, Tony made a really good point. He said the turbine size is for coarse adjustment, and then AR is for fine adjustment. I'm like, that's exactly
Like
right.
there's 70,
AR
66,
is just the
65,
area, it's
whatever.
the math of all the other functions. So yeah, it all depends on your AR. Or I mean, it all depends on your turbine.
All right, what is the highest air intake temp you would run without an air cooler or methanol as a general rule? Like, I don't know, is he talking about an M1 car that you need 400-degree intake air temperatures?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, Chris Brashear
Does it say like race gas or anything, or
Nothing.
pump? I'm assuming he wants to run a pump gas. People
Without
are
air.
lazy and they don't want to intercool their car, and they don't want to do anything.
Pump like
I
8
wouldn't
pounds.
run like anything. I don't know. Yeah, like
Well, fuck, 8 pounds.
Sometimes
on a
people
Pro
ask,
Mod
they're
88 is
like-
gonna make a lot of.
they're like, well, I want to tow a boat up a hill non-intercooled with my 01 53 60E 1500,
60 pounds.
which is just like, yeah, I don't know.
Then you're gonna drive around with it on 110.
I don't like to be non-intercooled at all. It stresses me out,
Yeah.
quite frankly. I'd say don't ever non-intercool. It's too easy not to do it.
It's so cheap, you want box. Yeah.
We ran Cameron's car a bunch today with 0 ice, 0 intercooler running, and it started to fade power. We jammed ice in it, whacked it, and made like 100 extra horsepower.
Right.
Yes,
So,
I'm a fan.
Obviously,
Yeah, because we tried on this
doing
car.
something.
We tried to prove out these intercoolers. Remember?
Yeah.
I made the piping up.
Yeah.
We bypassed them, and the fucking air inlets rose like a motherfucker. And we put
Yeah.
these little Chinese bag on there, and it was like.
Because everyone's like, well, how good can they be? And I'm like, well, we have like thermonuclear meltdown, and now we don't.
Do you want to answer this guy? Do you know this guy? I don't want to read that.
Mark, how does your wife put up with you? Also, give him a speech. What are these coming in from John Mark? John Mark.
Is it John Martin?
Yeah, John Mark. Yeah, he said, how's my wife put up with me, and am I amazing when I up the dose? Every time I hang out with John, I want up the dose, but I'm just fucking. No, yeah, John's my buddy. He's close to my balls. But,
Okay.
Oh, is John
Next
Martin?
one.
Yeah.
Next one.
Hi.
I'm gonna
He's just
ask.
mad because he missed us at the restaurant.
I'm gonna ask a question: how to make a 6D last? Man, we see train like a 4L60. We did one like a week ago. It was a S10, which everybody here loves, and it was fucking massacred inside. It had like 130,000 miles on the clock, and it was destroyed inside. The front planets were gone. The
And a
three-fourths,
stock S10
everything
makes like 100
gone,
horsepower,
like-
so how does
and
that happen?
And I'm sure that maybe they got a teenage driver or something that whips on it, but
How'd you do that?
I don't know. Man, the only time my shop will build
What
a
was it?
4L60
Can you
how to make a 4L60 last.
swap it with an
So-
80E?
Go on Sonics,
Swap it with an 80E.
call Sonics,
Put
request
it on the floor when it was in working condition, and it'll stay in working condition
Yes,
for a long
don't
time.
hook it up.
Request a
It'll live
Sonics
forever.
catalog. Request a Sonics catalog. Figure it out. I think it's page like 114 to 119. Say I want everything from page 114 to 119, and then you're good.
That's why people think I'm lying, because I have like a completely stock long block and a completely stock 80E, and they have like built shit that continually explodes, and in their brain they're like,
Right.
that's not possible.
So, how is the exhaust back? If I can talk, how is the exhaust back pressure on that 5.3 with the twin 6161s? We never did it right before I bombed the 5.3. And then I sold the 6161s. And then
Did they ask what the back pressure was like with the 5.3?
Mhm.
Well, the issue was, the 5.3 nuked. He put the 6-liter in. Everything was running good. He's on his way up here, and he's like, well, I have the opportunity to get bigger turbos, because we were thinking the GT35's lit super fast on the 5.3. So just in my head, I'm like, they're probably going to be an issue with the larger engine. So his friend was like, I'll sell you 270 65s. I'm like, just do that right now. And then I'm like, bring them, we'll dyno them, and if they're not good, we'll swap them. And then we're both like,
Let's just do it right now.
He's like, I'm just gonna swap them, but we're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
So we have no data from that, but we have really good data from today, which I guess I can say in the video, I
Yeah.
can say now.
Yeah.
With the 6-liter and the twin 70 65s, we went up to 21 pounds, and we had 19 pounds of back pressure.
So sub 1-to-1.
Under 1-to-1, which is very good. It's where you want to be.
That's awesome.
1-to-1 is good, starting from like 14 and up, and then going over 1-to-1 on your way to 20 is acceptable for a street car, but that thing didn't even hit 1-to-1 yet. Incredible.
Somebody actually knew that. Brad Davies, if I remember correctly, he never data logged back pressure. So
Is that?
KK Uniman. So I don't know, some guy knows my car.
He said he never logged it.
Yep.
We logged it today. You're wrong. Don't say
Alright.
never.
What would happen if you put boost on a carburetor, if you put boost through it without modifying it? I was thinking about doing something with my 1990 Volvo 440. Or would it be easier to just put nitrous on it? Oh,
As far as-
it's a 1.7.
As far as I know, I don't know a whole lot about carbs, but there's vents,
Kramer would know.
bowls, air bleeds, all that shit. And if you don't modify it and just blow into it, you block off like the bowl, like where it fills, and you eventually empty the bowl, or you just completely stall fuel flow, or other weird. Or it's fine, you hit it and you're like, wow, this thing doesn't blow up, but it showers gasoline out of it because you're compressing it. But most of the
That'd be
time,
cool.
like you lock out, like if there's 7 pounds of fuel flow, and you put 7 pounds of boost in, the system like locks itself out. You can't move any fuel, can't move any air. So that's usually why people mod them. They like block off something, and
And the venturis and the power valves and the things.
yeah,
I'll just add percentages.
that's my. And then there's a whole thing like if you're doing a draw through, obviously that doesn't happen. And I think if you're using like certain motorcycle carbs, and they're side drafts, that doesn't happen sometimes, but you'll still blow fuel out of parts that aren't sealed or looped correctly. Yeah, like the slide draft or side draft carbs. For like, you ever see like on a mini bike, you pull it and that reed comes out, and it has a fuel spout. It's nothing like a conventional carb.
You'll have to show me.
It's just a simpler carb. It's like what's on a weed whacker.
I
If
know
you take an air cleaner off a
yeah.
weed whacker and it just has a
I know what you're talking about.
slide valve and a needle, that's
Mhm.
like a side draft to go on a motorcycle.
Mark, what's up with your white 2500 HD truck?
Sitting out in the truck and driveway.
Yeah.
Is that
If you didn't see these,
Yeah.
these cost more than the 2500. And
Yeah.
he's having to work on this one, which we'll probably do a video about.
Yeah, we had a little issue last night with dyno. I'll give you a quick.
When he's done using the
overview.
2500 for his
Yeah,
daily,
I love the 2500. Matt tuned in. I tried the shit out. It's 2-wheel drive, so it's like driving on an ice fucking rink. You know?
Yeah.
It's got ball tires that whine so loud you can't hear something.
Jamie has like eco tires on her truck, like that's what came on it when she got it. Like nearly bald, almost smooth, just
Brand
gas
new?
mileage tires.
Yeah.
Yeah, like fairly new, but just very smooth profile.
Yeah.
And it's one-wheel drive long bed with no weight in it. And it was like snowy the other day, and like you couldn't even move it 6 feet into its parking space.
But
Because
then
you
have
put it in drive and you lift off the brake, no, and it just goes. It sits still, and the left wheel just turns.
And then if you have a track lock though, it'll want to coast to the hill though. So that's
It
what
just,
cool.
yeah, it doesn't do shit.
So at least it doesn't do that.
It doesn't go forward. It doesn't. As soon as you come off the brake, the wheel turns, like it's on a roller, like it's on the
It's on
dyno.
a
You can
dyno.
get out and be like, "What the fuck?"
It's a dyno.
Yeah, it doesn't.
The ice dyno.
You want to tell them real quick what you're saying about your?
Oh, the truck?
You're
No,
eventually
you're
going
Oh,
to.
this car? Yeah,
Yeah.
real quick. We can do a whole other video, but yeah, last night we
We heard it.
Do some tuning for lights out, and we heard it. Yeah,
Not bad though.
not bad. Yeah, it was a
And Thompson's coming through.
yeah. Thompson's good guys. You know, basically, we had a rocker. We had 2 rockers back off, and I think what happened was I spoke to Kyle today for a while. After a while, hammered the shit out of the bolts. Well, hence you stretch a little bit. It's gonna take the torque off the bolt. We're gonna walk out. You know, we torque them all the time. We change them. And at this power level, it's something that, you know, I should need to keep. an eye on
Apparently,
in the
we got
future.
we got to go over more than once every 60 passes.
60 pass. Yeah. So
We almost pulled mine today to check. But
yeah.
we were like,
So
nah.
2 walked out. One walked to the point where it knocked the fucking keepers out, dropped the valve.
Yeah, it actually rattled the keepers out with a spring.
Dropped.
Valve drop. It horseshoed the valve up into the intake.
Yeah, luckily the valve didn't drop completely out of the head.
It's like a
It was
button
dropped
opener.
down and then it fucking hit it, bent it over, stuffed it back into the fucking seat was so pounded it just stuffed it right back in without worry.
So
It
just the cylinder
it
head.
just barely touched the fucking piston.
And then Nitrous backfired the intake open basically.
Yeah, and then it,
Because the intake valve was
Intake's
wide
wide
open,
open.
so it lit
it
off
lit,
the combustion.
and then it fucking shot plastic across the garage.
It was like, fuck you, LS3.
Bang.
and
Yeah, so we have some good video of that, and but a couple passes before that it made 1387.
Yeah, we were on our way up. I think
But
on
we were,
that, all the
but we
cylinders.
probably had like 50,000 lash on the
The
2
rock-
fucking
4 of the
intake
rocker
valves. Yeah.
cylinders, yeah.
So on basically like something between 6 and 8 cylinders, it was making close to 1,400.
There was a 450 lift on that. Those 2 holes.
Yeah, and then who the fuck knows? When the one spun off, it was just
120
closed.
lift.
Yeah, the one was closed completely since the rocker spun off. But yeah, so anyway, we're gonna get the head fixed up or get a new head for it, and you know, clean the piston, check the rod bearing, and get it back together here. So could have been a lot worse. Thank God it didn't
Definitely.
drop the valve completely out and fucking take out the fucking piston and the rod. I guess,
Block
but
everything.
block it,
But-
yeah. And then
Valves don't compress, guys.
yeah, yeah. So but otherwise, yeah. So the truck is on the list of trying to get to that to
What are
do
you
some.
gonna do to it? You gonna turbo it or something?
Yeah, we're gonna turbo it. We're just gonna do a little sleeper truck, cruiser. It's a heavy tank, but
Mine went 11s on like the tires you have on yours. Mine went easy 1180s.
And you go to like 150, 160 on the highway.
Yeah, it went 1180 at 122 on like shit free 31-inch rotted radials someone gave me, and I would routinely wax people over 160 miles an hour on the highway.
yeah.
Yeah, people would be like, I was going 140 in my G8 or my Mustang GT, and I was flooring it, and you were like, blah, like just rolled past.
That was that Magnum 80 turbo, right?
And they were like,
that
how
thing
fast?
whistled like I love those.
Yeah, they're like, how fast are you going? And I'm like, I mean, a work truck, it's 6,000 and 100. So if you're on the highway and you like hit it, it was like, oh, you know.
Instantly
And
over.
I'm in it forever, and then you hear lock up, and it's like, and you're like, how fucking fast does this thing go? I had my limiter set at like 7K, and I never touched that on the highway, so.
Alright, moving on. Just 2 questions, not to sound like a douche. Usually when somebody says that they're about to be a douche.
About to be a
That's
But-
a pretty douche question.
Why the Camaro mark? Is it not way heavier than a Fox body, or is it more about looks than the quarter-mile times? And Matt, have you ever tried to put a GM LS computer on?
And
a
Matt.
engine?
Oh,
And
okay.
then all in one. Do you think it's a substantial idea or bad idea? Okay.
Mark,
So-
why the Camaros? They want
What is this? I don't understand. But why is it?
Why'd you buy Camaros, he said.
I guess he's like
Why Camaros?
he's the inverse of what most people say. Where most people are saying you should have built a Mustang, or no, why'd you build a Mustang?
why'd you build-
Everybody-
right.
He's asking the opposite.
Why didn't you
Why
build an
didn't you
RX-7?
build a Mustang?
Because we built the Mustang already. So we
Yeah.
went fucking. My dream build. I'll give you a quick background real fast. I don't want to digress too far, but basically I've been drag racing since the mid '90s or whatever. When I turned like 16, 17, I was going to go down like fucking religiously fucking racing. Pontiac Grand Prix. That I had a Mustang GT, whatever, fucking 205 horsepower, 13-second car. Yeah, that was,
Hell yeah.
That was I was the hot shit in high school. Fucking 1374, like struggled to go 102 or something. It was fucking retarded.
Like my Mustang track, it went 13.2 at 99.
Yeah, it was fucking. So this is
Racking people off with that 99.
right. But my
Couldn't hit
dad,
3 digits.
my dad had a G body. He passed away in '92. He had MS, and I inherited his G body with the vinyl fucking top and shit. It had the half land out.
Baller.
Is that the one
Yeah.
the picture on the wall?
Baller.
Yeah, it's up
Fuck
there.
Yeah.
So I actually won top street with that car in '94, '96 in Englishtown. I used to fucking drive that car down the parkway in traffic on Friday and race Friday nights and then drive the fucking thing home. And then the class kept getting faster and faster. I had a small block in the car and it would go 1070s on a little shot of juice and it would go like fucking
That was
1170s
fucking
on
flying
muscle.
back then.
Yeah. And I had McCreary's on it, I'd fucking drive. And then like I was like the only guy driving down and in this top street class, it was like, this is like fucking, these guys would have like 2 chassis alcohol cars. Like, what the fuck is this? So they're like, okay, we're gonna make it like quick 32 night. Like now it's like you have to be in the top 32 to qualify, or you don't make the field, and then you fucking have no chance to win the points. I'm like, well, that's total bullshit because it's top street. I'm driving this car. It's a real street car. It's licensed. It's fucking. I drive it in. It's got power windows, bench seat. I mean, full interior. I mean, it was fucking stock looking. So they're like, oh, sorry, buddy. So I won the championship in '94. '95, I took a year off and built the fucking big block for it on a budget. And then I borrowed my friend's pickup truck. My buddy Darnell works for Ford. And I had this shit trailer and this rusted out Ford pickup. And I trailered down this big block jalopy motor setup we built. And we got the car to go 980s on spray, and it would go like 1070s, 1080s on muscle. I went 1051 one time on muscle, and but I would qualify. So I'm like, fuck these guys. So I'd qualify on spray because you had to make the field, and then I'd dial it on motor, and I would just cut the fucking light, and I would just annihilate these guys. I could cut a halfway decent light, and the car would repeat. So I won again. I won the championship again in '96. Then they changed the rules. You have to dial within 2/10 of your fucking qualifying time. I'm like, fuck you all, bye bye. And then now Englishtown is like fucking import night at the Apollo. It's a disaster. You go there, you get 2 hits, and there's like 50 million people hanging out
It was
in the fucking
bad
pit
last-
smoking crack and
It was
shit.
bad in your first.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my story. But what was the question?
Why the Camaro?
Why the Camaro?
Because I always wanted to build a Camaro. That was like my dream car. When I was growing up, I was would see
Because you
Camaros
never had
in the
Camaros
pits.
before
I'm like,
these?
was that?
You never had any Camaros before these two?
No.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, I was
You're
one
gonna
of
get
the
tired.
first gen. I was one of the 69, and then I'll tell you what, the 67's kind of grown on me over time because they all have their own. Yeah, they all have their own little kind of nuances. But yeah, so it's heavier. This car weighed 3,500 Acco, went 774, 183 a few weeks ago. Went almost 148 in the 8th with a fucking soft 60-foot time, like a 138 60
That
foot.
is really
The
tough.
car's gone 127, but we just couldn't get the fucking hook. So it's a heavy car, but we have a lot more power at our disposal. We just need to get it down and then work on the suspension. But that's my dream build. So
You did it.
but it's not a budget build. My next budget, it's gonna be like the fucking truck and then probably another Mustang.
Yeah.
All right, back to
Matt, have you ever put a GM LS computer on a different engine, non-LS?
I've never done it. I've tuned like the LT based cars with a 411 or 896
Where they do
P01
you do
computer.
the pinout thing or whatever.
The guy, he bought like a LT1 swap harness, and it took a GM LS computer, and it was not an LS motor. I mean, you can do it just by changing the pinouts and using all the stock stuff and then tuning it. You could take like, we were talking about this on the way up, you could take like a Mopar, carbureted Mopar with a distributor, and you can just gut the distributor so it runs the oil pump. And then you can take an LS crank trigger, weld it to the balancer, put the, you can make everything do that, sure. Change the wiring so the firing order and ignite. I mean, it doesn't know any better. It doesn't know the difference.
Or if you got what old small block Chevy, you can do the 4.7 swap right there.
Yeah, like 4.7. It's possible for sure. I mean, I've tuned LT1 cars with those computers, but no, I never. I feel like at that point you're better off with a standalone.
Yeah.
It's easier, I think, than retroing, but you could.
I've been thinking about doing a LS swap with turbo for a while now. My question is, how much of a bad idea is it to do something like this as someone with not much experience with cars, limited tools, money to spend? Should I try to find a car, truck, and LS with already go? Okay, I want to make just around 600 or 7, just around. I mean, it took me 5 fucking years to do that. But looking for general advice.
We fucked up the whole world right now.
Yeah, well, like we said. Like we said on the way up here.
I didn't know how to change spark plugs 9 years ago.
He had no idea how to change spark plugs.
And then this guy, Chris Adams, was doing because nobody built long tube headers for Crown Vics because they're so tight, and somebody was like, everybody knew that you needed long tube headers to make a Crown Vic fast because nobody thought about doing a turbo or pistons or rods or anything. So the only option was long tubes and spray.
Longer long tubes.
Yeah, so finally this guy was like, hey, I'll do a group buy with Stainless Works. If we get 10 people together, they'll build us some. And they got 10 people together, they built them, they were like fucking like 900, 1100, they were a lot. They were a lot for some. And I was like, fuck it, I had money at the time, I was single, I was just getting out of the army, I got a big fat severance. And I'm like, fuck it, let's do it. So I did that, and then somebody was like, I got these cams, and somebody's like, I got this, and before I knew it, I had all these parts. And I didn't know how to put it on, and then I found somebody to help me, and then I started putting it on. And then that was like in 2009 or 10, and then now I'm here, if there's a desire to learn, you're gonna figure it out.
I didn't know how to do anything.
So yeah, I don't know if it's a bad idea. If you have a desire to learn, you're not going to get spoon-fed. There's a ton of information out there.
There's more information now, and it's cheaper than ever now to do that. Free.
Right.
So
yeah, now's the time to do it. If you want to do it, now's the time to do it. It's just trying to find or align yourself with people
every year it gets cheaper.
To guide you and not try to sell you bullshit. Because there's a lot of people out there who just want to try to sell you parts to make money, and they don't give a fuck how fast you go or how reliable your build is, or they don't want to know shit. And and there's a lot of good guys out there that sell parts, and they'll tell you, no, you don't need that fucking bullshit. You need this or that, or fucking go on eBay and buy an intercooler for $9.
There's a really good resource. It's called Slapping Mechanics. Those guys give away a lot of.
Oh yeah, those guys, they're a bunch of fucking pricks.
That's true.
So not a bad idea if you're willing to learn. All right. First off, thanks for doing these question and answer videos. They're quite entertaining, especially the deeper you guys make it into your drinks. Well then, I'm not going to get too deep. So now the question, is there any type of build thread on Mark's Camaro street car?
Yeah.
On LS1 Tech?
LS1 Tech.
Yeah.
I put up a bunch on LS1 Tech under the
turbo
Denham.
Yeah.
And the force induction.
That's right.
Yeah, it says like 403 something sevens. Fuck you.
No,
right.
This one. This
one?
Yeah.
I think there's results, but
just pistons
there really isn't. I mean, it took you like. There really wasn't much to it. You're like, I'm just gonna do this and drive it around.
It's 480 with 180,000 miles on the surface.
We'll do like a Mark's Peep Show walk around later for it. And
yeah, we can show you what the fuck we got.
And he could talk into Mark voice.
Matt.
Mark Jr. or whatever it was.
Guys. Matt, I want to know. No.
Mike Rowe voice or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, guys, this is my
that
turbo.
joke. I mean, he fucking looks like Mike Rowe.
These are my turbos right here.
All right, Matt, I don't want this to be a loaded question, so I put as many details as I can. I would like to know
Prepare to be judged.
Right? I would like to know he asked for it, he's going to get it. I would like to know your thoughts on timing retard versus IAT rise. Setup is a stock 6.0 turbo cam, eBay air-to-air, S475,
okay.
stock 2001, ep5, 1414, 91. At what IAT do you start one timing?
Intercooled? It's just intercooled standard turbo build?
eBay air-to-air.
I mean, most commonly those cars, even when it's hot out here in Allentown, will not go over 150. So at that point, you should start yanking it out.
And then he said, if you switch to race gas 110, how would you suggest changing your strategy?
Like Cam 2 110. So what you got to do, it depends. It depends on your setup.
You'd have to have a different map.
If you put good fuel in it, yeah. Part of the big struggle here is Cam 2 has a different specific gravity than gasoline, and it fucks your whole tune-up. It makes it rich. So by adding in that fuel, you're gonna fuck your tune-up up. And then second, race gas and ethanol doesn't necessarily mean you'll make more power. You can't just jam. There's not just like race gas,
5
add
degrees.
5,
Five.
C16, add 15. It's whatever the combo will give you. Sometimes it gives you room, sometimes it doesn't. We were talking about that on the way up here, or earlier today, where some of the combos, they're already capped on gasoline. So when you put in race, you see no gain at all, which is my initial impressions of ethanol because I ran really small backside China turbos, capped at like 560 wheel, and you put in ethanol, and everyone's like, put in ethanol, add 50 degrees. I put in 5, nothing. Put in 6, lose a ringland.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, that was fucking great, guys. Thank you so much for that.
You're not spraying pure meth. You need pure meth is what you need.
Yeah.
And then that video of you.
But I mean, what was that, like 150? Almost all those builds struggle to get to 150. So just start yanking it there in case some shit happens.
All right. Do turbo LS engines make big blocks obsolete? Why? Why not? No, hell no.
Well, we said that's a 50-50.
It depends on the application.
Yeah, if you're trying to set radial outlaw.
Radio versus the world.
Yeah, if you're trying to put the lights out, you're not doing it with a 355.
And then you got rid of it.
You're not doing it with a 355.
Nope.
Those guys have 600. I mean, anywhere between 5, 6, 700 inch motors with turbos that are 98 millimeter.
5.3 inch.
Yeah. So
Not a 315.
obviously,
Chassis.
there's no room for a Pistons rod 6.0 in that class.
No. All right. Highest horsepower you've seen on a 4.8 LS9 cam GT45.
Corey's truck probably is a 615 tire.
Yeah, and then it went 10. Is it like what 48?
1080. Yeah, my biggest thing now is learning. I mean, we said the LS9 cam was good back in the day, but only if you had like easily, because you have to do the front cam and everything. And some of those motors, it was easy, and we had the stuff laying around, and we're like, LS9 cam's $110. It's better than nothing. We would put it in, but that's all it is. Better than nothing. If you're starting from nothing anyway, you might as well just buy a turbo. There's huge, big gains for turbo-specific cam. I mean, I've learned that at least. Like LS9 cam, any motor you put in, it makes it soft to like 4. It's really like, you're like, why is this shit so laggy? And you put in like a 12, and you're like, whoa!
Killing the
I
tires.
added 80 cubes and compression to my setup. No, that's just how terrible LS9 is down low. Like it will, like if that's what you got it laying around, and you can front cam it, or it's micro and it doesn't need the cam, see that's like where that stuff's beneficial.
Yeah.
The LS9 will give you good power up to like 7,000 on certain builds, but it's so turdy down low. The cars, like we always had trouble weaving, and mid-range was awful.
Yeah, because Corey's truck was a 4.8, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You end up just making your converter shitty enough to get you to like 4,600 to leave. Worth of shit.
Like I need a 5,000 stall.
And then you need
Make
like
it
a 12,
triple
and then
disc.
it needs to be like a super loose triple disc, and then you need to lock it up top because you're mowing through it at 800 feet.
The fucking trans tensors.
Yeah, and then you run the risk of where you're blowing through versus locking it too low and folding your rods out.
Right.
And you're dealing with all this shit because you had to buy a $110 cam.
But on the internet.
And then $200 worth of supporting mods to make it front read.
You could have just bought an LS6 cam.
Yeah, and you could have just bought a trick flow for $240. Or the eBay version of the trick flow now, which is like $190. So you see
Damn.
Dario is posting this?
That's badass.
It's like Little John Stage 2 copy. It's like they changed like 2 of the things, and it's like $109.
That's
I have to
crazy.
try that next.
Matt, have you built any carb turbo motors, and how well did they do?
Never built one. Period. Nope.
Next.
Not interested. I'm so good with fuel injection. I don't
Yeah. I don't-
see the.
You
Reiner's
can't
is like, I'm
just
going to teach myself
force.
flow through carb.
Like why?
And that
That
Pinto,
Pinto?
and he was like,
We don't see pictures.
he's like,
of
I'm
that.
done. He's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm done.
You gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Yeah, he's putting like a completely stock EFI setup on that,
And I
like
bet
the
he'll love it.
A9L or whatever, just so he doesn't have to. Yeah, nope.
For Camry, would you ever think of building a mod motor or a small block Ford for the Vic?
Someone gave it to me.
I'm taking sponsorship.
someone
I don't know. If I
sponsored
ever
me,
got to the point
Big
where
time.
if I ever got to the point where I wanted to make a lot of power, because you know, it's at some point with an LS motor, you're gonna need aftermarket everything. You know, maybe if I was gonna
They all start to cost the same at some point.
yeah,
so yeah,
like
it
if I
doesn't
ever
matter.
wanted to make like 2 Gs or something like that, I would consider doing a Coyote or something like that. You know, where it's like a hard block or like really sleeved or something, but they're just so damn big, and then the cams and all that stuff, and I just like being able to put.
You
one
need to
cam
build
in
custom
big
everything. What's funny is like you have stock intake, stock exhaust manifolds. There's
Yeah.
really no good cast manifold for other than like I think they make an aftermarket one for modulars, but
Yeah.
Right.
No.
and you
So
end up running
it's
around like the
fucking
oil filter thing in the front of some of
insanity.
them.
They grab one of these fucking exhaust manifolds for the, because everyone's like, what kind of exhaust manifolds? They grab it and fucking, fit in that box over there.
But that was for a mod motor. So maybe small block Ford. I don't know. I just like knowing. Like I know with turbo LS, it's like it's gonna take like 20 pounds and like low to teens or like 12
yeah,
degrees.
like the other
Everything's just so damn simple, and
small block.
I don't
probably
like
not.
thinking hard.
Yeah, there we go.
So,
Here we go.
180 some mile an hour.
183 at 3,500 pounds with fucking stock exhaust manifold. That truck's a story.
They're junk.
Yeah, they can't use
is
these.
that 2 passes?
Huh?
Is that 2 passes on the fleet?
Yeah, it's my board up there.
Inside, outside.
I did a little TIG welding today with DNO.
Inside, outside.
I'm a pro now.
You see my welds, forget that's what I'm
Everyone.
Until Dan moves away, then fucking I'll just learn at some point. to fucking-
Question
I'll
for
weld
me
it
and
for
Mark.
you.
What?
I'm
I
pretty
could
good.
do it, but it's just it
Easier.
doesn't come out like him,
Yeah.
and it's like, what the fuck, you know?
Even
It's
better.
not fun
You
sitting
Stick to
there.
what you know. Like, I've
Yeah.
got transmissions.
I know certain things, and certain things I know not to know. So
I
whatever.
just sound like I know.
What made
Just do it.
What made Cameron and Mark go twin turbos on both their builds? Well, I don't have 2 builds. Mark does though. We know Matt doesn't like twin turbo setups because Matt's our dad and he tells us what to do. We like making him.
So they
4
did the opposite.
Yeah. Well, me, what it was is right after I went 9s with my single, my buddy was like, "We should fucking do twins." I'm like, "Fuck, why not?" And I sold my single in like a second to Shannon Taylor. I listed it for sale.
Did you?
Yeah, well, and it sucked too because this is the whole shit, like, why I take the downpipes. We took it to Texas 2K, did some dyno pulls, it's on the 1320, like 2K14. There was a little smoke coming out of the turbo. Never done that before. On the way back, no, didn't cover the exhaust. And then immediately we were like, let's just sell it and go twins. And I sold it to Shannon. Shannon took it apart and saw that everything was bombed inside. I was like, oh my god, I'm a fucking scumbag. I sold him a turbo that needs to be rebuilt. And I was like, fuck.
I'm telling you.
I'm like, I'll build you a transmission, just buy the parts, I'll build you a transmission, we can swap, because I don't want to offset the cost of you having to get rebuild it. And he's like, okay, cool. So that's why I take my downpipes now. But really I just went twins as like a spur of the moment, like, let's do twins.
Right.
And we did. And now I'm stuck with it and I really like the results. Yes, there's more shit that can go wrong, but I'm at a point in life where I don't want to put a bunch of time into going single again. If I could do it again, I'd probably. Well, they didn't come out with the turbo you have until like, what, 6 months ago. If I could do it again, I'd buy that.
Well, I've made those memes before. There's like a lot of memes of mine that recirculate that I made like years ago. I hate to sound hipster, but one of them is one of the skeleton where he's dead and he's like waiting in the chair, and it says waiting for large turbine Chinese turbos. Because we've had 60 and 70 some millimeter forever, and I'm like, when are they going to make a 96 Borg copy? And they finally, Varen's like, oh, here. Like out of nowhere one day, he's like, yeah, here, this is a complete bill of disc 480 copy. And I was like, wow. So yeah, now they
Why'd you go twins?
Yeah, get back to that.
I think for packaging and horsepower capability for you, for this anyway.
Because you did that. We did that one first though.
You know, I mean, there's two different builds here. So one is the streetcar, which is like, I wanted the wow factor. You open the hood up, there's twin fucking turbos there, the old guys.
That is sexy.
What is that?
Okay,
What kind of
twins.
motor?
This guy's got one.
Jeez, look at you,
2,000,
turbos in
1,000
there.
horsepower each.
So for this car, it was more like aesthetics. It would do the job. But with the Mustang build and shit, knowing that one turbo will carry you fucking as far as you probably want to go, you can put a monster pro mod on this
You
thing.
can size it
I'd
either
probably make
way.
the same fucking. I'd probably make 1,500 with one turbo on here if I had a big enough turbo. But for as far as packaging, trying
For seriously
to
fast car, I think packaging
and
a lot, like
lag,
2,000 horsepower.
you know, whatever. But you know,
Twins.
it works well.
Because
I
you see
think.
guys doing a single, they're splitting the downpipe and they're
Right.
taking up 80% of their goddamn engine bay
Right.
with
Dual
fucking pipes.
scroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, 2
So-
scrolls.
And look at this. This U's up into the turbo, and it's done.
It's right there. It's fucking boom, boom. It's
Yeah,
simple.
nothing complicated.
Helps
You know,
with
the
the
air-to-air
weight
is,
issue.
you start getting the octopus with the air-to-air because we want to stay with the air-to-air theme. I don't want to bring 500,000 pounds of
We're
ice
gonna-
to the track.
We're gonna do
I'm not looking
Moran
for Wawas.
500 and
Oh, they sold out because other assholes are here buying air to fucking, you know, their air to waters are melting all the ice in the whole county.
Everyone knows my
Right.
air to water.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm.
Cameron was buying ice bags at Wawa today.
Yeah.
Everyone was looking at him like he's an asshole.
Right.
Because there's snow on the ground.
That's right. I forgot he's fucking. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
There's snow on the ground outside.
But I was
He's like,
referring
"Can I get bags
to.
out?"
I was referring to.
Well, yeah.
You know,
His actually
the
works.
other
There.
end. His works.
Is what's funny.
The other guys, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm on the track, and it's like, I'm like, your fucking car's leaking. It's like, dude, there's a pool of water. I'm like, dude, are we swimming here? What the fuck? It's a damn, you got water all over the fucking track here.
I love, yeah, they gotta get the clean aluminum. When it
Yeah.
sweats like a motherfucker. I have an igloo cooler. It's like it
Yeah.
never sweat. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
does-
insulated. It doesn't sweat.
And what?
You have $100 in yours. Is it? Yeah. I mean,
Well,
a lot of
actually,
people
it's
may
less
not
than that.
realize
My
that.
buddy did a lot of welding on it. He gave me a really good deal. My buddy Curtis, but
But it's 100 parts.
no, it was cheaper than that.
Ah.
It was one of those buy it. It was they
To
fucked
build
up.
your own core.
No, they fucked up. They listed it as it was bidding. Like you could bid on it. It was bidding at $74.99, free shipping.
Or make an offer or something like that.
Not even make an offer, just bidding. So I'm like,
Now.
all right, I
Okay,
placed the
bid
bid.
like
I placed the bid.
$18.
2 days later, I get it back, and they're like, you won. So I won for like $74 and change or something like that on eBay. I'm like, okay. And that's when I went nines with the single precision. And then my buddy did a bunch of work to it, but cut off the intakes for this concrete type stuff. But yeah, ever since then, I went back and looked at them. They made it like a 150 buy it now. Like there's no bidding. Like
Yeah,
they
there's
fucked
no
up. They
bullshit.
thought people were gonna bid it up, but it's
Yeah.
like no.
Right.
So I got it for yeah, it was like $75 or something like that, and it's gone
Pretty
nines a bunch of times and made 880.
Yeah,
Some of it works, but I think it's a hassle.
You know, guys are like,
you
oh,
you made it simple.
You need a $900 pump, and you need all these fucking 2-inch.
They have a
lines.
mini fridge
Right.
under the hood. I mean, yours is simple and compact, and you have a fucking igloo and a bilge pump.
Right.
And everyone's like, well, that's a joke. And I'm like, he has 40-degree inlet temps.
And the bottom line is,
It started at 39 today, didn't it?
Started at 39, ended at 43.
Right.
With
Over a
900 wheel.
yeah, the fucking bottom line is, air to water will get you further. You can start below ambient. Absolutely. Depends on what you want to do. If you want to
Yeah.
make, you know, I could, what am I doing? I'm gonna fucking put this air to water in this car to make an extra fucking 75 or 100
think it's
horsepower.
pain.
Where I can't hope the fucking power I have now. So.
Turn it up a little bit.
Right. I mean, at some point I may change over or whatever, but you know what? If I can go air to air, driving around and do whatever the fuck I want to do, go get coffee with it, and not to worry about it, make it lean it, I'd rather do that if I can, you know? If there's limits where I have to change it, we'll change it, but I'm not gonna, you know, go to some bullshit fucking high ram with some garbage fucking sandwich intercooler that sucks cock.
Welded.
You know, and tell me it's great. I don't believe that. I mean, I'd, you know, build a custom intercooler and have some kind of, you know, precision 3,000, 4,000 in there. That could really work well.
6, I think they're at 6 now.
6,000, whatever the fuck they are.
6. All right, Mark Friedrich is spelled Friedrich, but pronounced Friedrich. Somebody,
That's my buddy Darnell. Yeah, I actually grew up with him. He works for Ford.
D. Moore.
Yeah, D. Moore. Yeah,
He helped us out. Thank you.
Yeah, he machines the GT40 blocks. He actually does for the Ford GT.
Wow.
He did every other block. He's one of the head
There's
machinists.
2 of them.
Well, he do night shift and the other guy would do day shift. So they
That's
rotate.
funny.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool.
But yeah, he's one of my best friends. I've known him since I was in first grade.
It's better.
40 fucking years.
Every other one.
That's
Yeah, I
great.
love
Every
the
other block.
logistics behind that.
So,
All right.
but yeah, Friedrich. So yeah, how do you? So I'm German, so my last name is Friedrich. You know, but I say
Okay.
Friedrich, but it's Friedrich is that's close.
The American.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the American. Call me whatever. I'm a jerk off. Call me fucking.
Just don't call you Lee for them.
Yeah.
When
We'll
they
call you Big Tire Ronnie Burns.
Hey, where's Big Tire?
Where's Big
Yeah,
Tire?
he's like missing in action.
What's
And
he
then
say?
he's busting my balls. He goes, "Oh yeah, you told me your car had problems last night. Where's the video?" I'm like, "Go fuck yourself." I go, "Stop by. Here's the car in my garage, buddy. You know where I live."
He's still crying on the couch that he broke
Yeah.
the motor.
So
when they say 87 millimeter turbines, is that the exducer or inducer? And Borgs, it's the inducer. It's the bigger one. So that's why Borgs always sound. Well, some Borgs. You just told me Jose's are flat, but like
It depends.
yeah,
It
some.
depends on the turbo and
Get-
how the person is
Get your mic out and
advertising
measure it.
If you're gonna buy one and you want to know for sure, ask the person for, because I've done that with Varen. A lot of those Chinese turbos, the numbers don't mean fuck all. So I'm like, what is? Yeah, there's a chart like on Google. You can look it up. It says like wheel measurements for a turbo, and there's the small and the large.
I have that picture. I sent it to
You
people.
want to
occasionally.
know? I'm like, whenever someone asks me what, they're like, I have this unknown whatever bull, and I'm like, you're not gonna find shit looking up that whole set part number unless it's like a very well known or just measure this, and this,
Inducer.
and you can pretty much guess it all.
Yeah, you're like, okay, this is 76.
This is
millimeter.
comparable.
I'll make
to
400 horsepower.
Yeah,
with this one.
exactly. Because that's what we did. We pulled a diesel turbo one time at the junkyard because we know that they're just people are like, yeah, I'm gonna pull a giant diesel turbo. They're usually really small because they make boosted idle.
And yeah, they're all like
And they
low
choke
RPM.
at like 1800.
yeah, they made the toe.
So I'm like, yeah, it's not a good gasoline application,
Like
high
400.
RPM, high exhaust flow.
Right.
Yeah, it's total opposite of all of that. But when we measured, it had like a 7388 turbine, and it was like a 67. We made 550 tire. That was in Donovan's Firebird. We had like the most ugly, disgusting Mac turbo. And it had like a weird downpipe flange. We just welded a 4-inch V-band to the iron. Yeah, like we did stupid shit.
Blasted it.
Because people are always like, well, how are you? I spent 85. I bought a $50 junkyard turbo, and I bought a custom flange from Switzerland for
100.
Yeah,
it's a $4
and I'm like,
flange. What are
okay,
you doing?
yeah, GT45 still $200, boys.
All right, Cameron, a Kardashian or a fuel cell, which has been passed around more. That's a joke between my buddy. The fuel cell in my car has been handed down from like 5 different people. It started with
Everyone wants to get rid of it.
Yeah, and it like it breathes. Like you walk into my garage, it's like smells like a distillery. So, but yeah. Anyway, does it have more in it? Yeah. Well, my car, yeah.
Probably.
Because I don't want to sweep rods up.
Assuming from back pressure.
Everybody that fucking tells you that put more in it, they all have their cars are down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no.
Everybody's so
Put
far.
more in it. Yeah. Back to go fast. Everybody asks you how. Blow up. Everybody tells you why. All right, Matt. Have you ever drag raced a welded rear end? If so, what's your fastest pass to the weld? Never. You would.
Most of the rears I had in my cars were welded.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't know what I think they're getting at. Welding it makes it more unreliable, or doesn't make it work as well at the track.
maybe they just want to feel better about what they're doing.
Just get in there and smelt that shit with a welder, and you're fine. Just burn a whole stick into it.
Hey guys, Matt, have you ever worked with a stock LS1 intake? No.
Nope.
LS1 stock return rails, and would you think it works as well as a truck return style setup? My goal is close to 700 wheel horsepower. Pump meth.
Fairmont 3.
I kind of don't want a cowl.
Fairmont 3 made 721 tire on pump, no meth, LS1 intake, returnless fuel rail. So yeah. Mark's car. Mark's Mustang that went 7s had a toilet EGR rubber butt plug
Stuck in there.
stuck in it with
That's like
780.
Jesus Christ.
People would see the car go down the track and they're like, God damn, that car's fast. And they walk around the pits looking for it and they would see under the hood. And they're like, it's not this filthy piece of shit with a butt plug in the intake. This thing, it doesn't go fast.
That's not gonna hold
It is like
$5.
3-inch piping. What kind of asshole is this guy? And they
Needs
just keep
5.
looking. Yeah, it needs 5-inch
That was
piping.
that plug was my wastegate. If it got above
Yeah.
25 pounds, it would just blow the plug.
Yeah. Pressure test.
This probably won't need to go on the show, so we're gonna embarrass you.
Here we go.
Oh fuck.
But I have a question about the Colorado. For everything else you've done with the Pac-12 18 springs, are you getting away with them? Are you getting away with running them over 600 lift?
No, I've never tried.
All right. Any chance you guys might put the compound turbo, not diesel setup?
No.
No need.
Yeah, no need to reinvent.
I'm not
the
a
wheel.
fan of adding turbos for no reason.
Maybe.
A lot of people are hell-bent on doing something with like zero motivation or skill. And they're like, I'm gonna do that. And they never do
Theorize
it.
about it
And like
forever.
2
Never
years
think about
later,
it,
you
yeah.
didn't get shit done. I'm gonna compound. If you're gonna do that, like you have to
Fucking
have some,
do it.
you have to have some drive.
Go to the
Ignore
local
everybody
welding
and just
supply,
do
buy
it.
a welder and
Yeah.
start doing it.
Plenty of people are like, when I start a build that I do, that has not been something that I've always, I mean, other than being turbo LS, I'll do like a cam turbo, like for her truck. I got that cam, which is slightly large, I assume, for that turbo and everything else. And I'm like, well, I want it to make boost super early. I don't really care about max power or whatever. And everyone's like, well, how do you know that's gonna work? I'm like, I don't. Isn't it cool? I have no fucking clue, guys. And they're like,
That doesn't please
they act
me.
like my life is spiraling out of control.
We need
I'm
to-
like,
we
I
need
don't
to do
know.
an intervention on that.
Yeah.
Hey Matt, if you can find it locally, I found if you're running water meth, 100 LL aviation gas is good as C16.
People talk about. I feel like avgas people are like vaping wizards. Like they just want to talk about avgas.
Do you drip or do you drip?
Yeah, they're like avgas. I
Don't
like
drip
I
and
said,
drive.
I said we read this comment earlier. We read this comment
That's the
earlier,
thing.
and I said I don't know anybody going fuck all worth of speed on avgas.
Yeah,
Maybe
no.
you could be the guy. I love getting
Somebody's
proved
cousin's
wrong.
uncle's brother's mom.
I
did.
love it. People think that like I come at people sometimes, but I'm like, if you can just hit me with a bunch of facts I can't argue, I'll be happy for you.
Right.
But
Until you do that.
who's running avgas?
I
Who do
can't-
you
I
know?
can't name.
I hear about people talking about it. I hear about people jumping Coke cans or big blocks too. I've never seen one.
Right. Everyone tells me, oh, you have to go up to the airport if you didn't have it.
I bought an
fuck is that?
I bought an Isuzu Amigo for $300.
They didn't make many of those. Where the
No,
thing, where
and I put it in 4-wheel drive high, and I would bash the gas pedal in and out. I could jump it almost onto the bumper, back bumper.
Yeah.
So I mean that had a lot of power.
Yeah, because that's
I
the
think I dynoed
that's
it.
the unit of measure.
Yeah.
Can you jump 1,000?
Yeah.
All right,
I'm tired of that shit.
Mark, what made you choose?
What was even the question?
I don't know.
It was fuck.
We just keep going until nobody gets it. What we're talking
just
about.
grandstand it into nothing.
Mark, what made you choose the custom chassis for the race car? I think they're saying the certification because it's still the stock.
Because he doesn't want to get kicked out.
NHRA rules, safety, performance, all the above. I know it's not a street car.
It is a street car.
Kind of is.
He must have missed when we went.
But any insight into how it rides, drive with the chassis as opposed to stock subframe?
Well,
It is stock.
Yeah, it is. It's stock.
I guess he thinks it's a tube chassis, but it's stock front and back. It's
We'll
stock.
show you later.
It's stock frame rail locations.
we'll walk around,
front and
but-
back, stock leaf spring,
Basically, yeah.
stock control arm.
The build was set up to run the leaf spring class. So basically,
25.5, which is 750, right?
They think it's like a ladder double frame.
yeah, we're
rail.
talking two different things. The cage is a 25.5 750 cert,
Okay.
but the chassis itself is still it's a factory location leaf spring car. It's got cow tracks and it's got a Fab 9 in it and shit. But if you look at the connecting points on the frame, those leaf springs are in a stock location. Stock frame around the front. It's got a rack steering, set up in it. It's got tubular A arms, but it's not like a tube chassis car.
People
by
running
any
a
means.
box are masochists.
It's all steel except for the hood. It's got that low fucking caliber. Run a flat hood in the car if I wanted to because we set it up, we built it to run a stealth.
It almost looks flat anymore
Yeah.
because everyone has a goddamn 12-inch.
If I run these other fucking stupid
Somebody
classes,
stage them.
we're gonna take the exhaust
See
and
the
we'll have the
fucking
exhaust that goes back under the car, like past the firewall, so we can make it quieter, street, whatever, fucking for some of these classes. But that's all romance stuff anyway. But bottom line is, it's a small tire, 275 radial car on a leaf spring with stock frame rails.
That goes 7 on 7.
774 at 183.
There's
plus.
way more left in it.
But
I would say with 4 Ys, I would say way.
Yeah.
I mean, with any kind of hook, you just do the math. It's got to pick up a lot. It's just, we'll see what happens this year. Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I just want to get back together, get it running good, and then turn the fuck up on it because that's why I was like, oh, are you mad that it broke or whatever? I'm like, no, it's part of the game. You're gonna push shit to the limit. Stuff's gonna fucking break. I don't care what it is. It's just a matter of what.
I said it
But
was-
like Matt said, just for
extremely
your goals,
lucky
I have
to
to get
break.
back to what am I really trying? Am I chasing time slips? Am I trying to run 850 class?
Yeah, you're not
Slow
sure what you
down?
want to do yet.
Right. I just like I'm like one day.
Because we talked about it, I think I said it in the video, the precursor too, we're going to swap the car to ethanol.
Yeah.
We can make like 1,100 probably on E.
And
that's
$2
gonna be
a
enough.
gallon instead of
If it's
spending
60's
17
good,
a
you're gonna go
gallon, $20 a
7s
gallon.
on that anyway, even with the weight.
Right.
So
Like that dude.
So why not? Right. Why spend?
it gets
fucking-
difficult when you start chasing times. You got to compete with the people who are dropping $100,000 a month.
Right.
It's a
And they weigh 100 pounds less.
Up
And
that.
yeah. You're never gonna win that game. That's why I want to
I
make
think
it.
you had a lot of fun racing your other white Mustang and the 850 index with the 830 setup on pump gas.
Pump gas, yeah.
And you could be like dirt, and like wave and eat ice cream and
Yeah.
be like, well, I'm gonna stay back here and fucking mow this guy.
The fucking
Because
guy
they-
walks over to me. It was a true story. It was at ACO. It was an 850 index race, and I pulled in with the Mustang, and I was kind of in the back of the pack and pulled up, so he didn't see the parachute in it. He's like, excuse me. He's like, 1150 index is over there. And I go, oh, are you in the wrong lane? He goes, no, no.
Are you in the wrong
He
lane?
goes, no. And I said, no, I'm racing the 850 index. He's like, with this car? I'm like, yeah, with this car.
They're all big tire steamroller.
Yeah, it's got a DOT tire on, 295 fucking dot tire on it. So he's looking around, he sees the
And it was
parachute.
dirty and the,
Yeah, it
the
was all
body like
fucked up,
the
right.
touch-up paint all over
Yeah,
it.
every
like,
panel
it
was kicked in and shit, the windshield's cracked.
Yeah.
So he's looking at me like,
Yeah.
he's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I go, it's on pump gas too.
Look
He
at
goes,
the picture up there
He goes,
of all
no
the lo-
fucking way.
Yeah.
I popped the trunk up on myself, I go,
Smell
smell
this.
it, pump
It
gas.
smells awful.
He goes, what's this thing run? I go, I just want 832 and I took some power out of it. Right? On pump gas. And he's like, get the fuck out of here. I said, yeah, what is your car run? He's like, oh, 857. I'm like, yeah, it's probably all that with like 3 stages of nitrous. I said, how many?
13 to 1.
I'm happy first round.
Yeah.
Did you put him out?
No, I raced some other guy and he
No.
fucking treated me. Nah, we didn't do it.
Alright. Matt, in one video you were talking about seeing what a torque a stock head bolt would break out. Did you ever do that test? I don't have an angle gauge.
I didn't get to do it. I gave that motor to my buddy Joey. I might do that one day.
We'll just keep cranking on it. Just
I said I got that digital torque wrench that'll tell you where you peaked,
that's bad.
and it goes to 250. So I'm figuring those head bolts will break before
We
250.
could do one tonight.
I was
We
gonna
got a
break.
block in the other
I was
day.
gonna break a stock one, and I have Chinese studs, and I was gonna break one, and I have ARP bolts, and I was gonna break one of those. And then I thought about it, and then I had people like telling me that when the bolt breaks has nothing to do with its clamping force. And I think I already talked about that. But people were already blowing up about that. And then all of my bolts are used 8 times or more. and that's not an accurate
It's gonna skew the
representation.
results.
And I'm like, okay, well, no one really seems interested in this.
So fuck it.
We'll just argue about it and not do it.
Right.
Let's not and say we did.
Sloppy question, what are the differences, pros and cons, between running E85, 93 octane, horsepower gains, tuning, etc.?
Well, that's what
Currently
we talked
running
about. We
gas
touched on it earlier. I said early on, I think the combos didn't have any room for them. And what I learned is like E85, since it uses more gas, has more exhaust energy. So if you're turbine limited and you put more exhaust energy into it, you don't get anywhere. You're already done. But I have done a couple of combinations this year. One was a blower car. I picked up like 178 horsepower, going from 93 safely to E85. But it was a stick shift blower car. I haven't done enough.
Same boost and everything?
Everything was the
Would it
same.
take more time? Did it take more time?
Yeah, it took like 5-6 more degrees and picked up 178 horsepower. I haven't done enough. I'd like to do some all motor cars that are almost stock, like my buddy's G8, drain it,
Blend.
and just do like an ethanol tune and then drain it again, just to see, because we know that thing like he has 87 octane tune in it, and 87 anymore is total dog shit. Like, and that's like a 10-to-1 motor, that L76 or whatever, or L67.
It's like an iron LS3 or something, right?
Yeah, it's an iron LS3, and it's like, it's total junk on pump gas. It's awful, like the horsepower curve like doesn't ping or anything, but it just draws like a fucking, like the snake game in a Nokia for a horsepower line. I
Did
feel
you,
like
did you ever get really far with that? Like you'd almost like get them touching.
I'm not good at that. It involves strategy, and that's just a bane of my
You
existence.
gotta weave them. You gotta go like this.
Yeah, I'm just not good at strategy.
This
I'm like, is this a strategy game? Someone wants to play it, and I'm like, you win.
good.
Here's your winnings.
This is a question for all three of you guys. What was the single biggest learning experience for your builds? Also, what was the biggest hurdle you guys faced in your builds?
A turbine for both. Learning like turbine and other stuff like that, I think is the biggest thing.
Because everybody gets caught up, or everybody used to get caught up on compressor.
Or they're like AR.
76,
They're like it's a,
76.
yeah. And what I learned is like from Jose and John and those guys, I actually did learn. They like appropriate turbo sizing. You used to think like I used to be like these turbos are too big. These turbos are too big. And then what's funny is you learn sometimes the bigger number, like 96 millimeter on a small motor, it's funny, you get more leverage on that larger turbine than you do on a smaller. You're choking it, and then it's forcing itself and then slowing down, then trying to come out of a thing, whereas with a huge wheel, it just can mow through. It's
like
weird.
I have, when I first put that precision on my car, I bought it used on a Mustang form. It had the 81 AR. And I was like, it'll probably pick up with a 96, I don't know why. And I found some guy with a 96, and I put the 96 on there, and it lit quicker with that, so.
And that's counterintuitive.
Yeah, you would think, oh,
Yeah,
it's
the old theory was, you don't
tight,
know, it's-
tight, so it spins fast.
You gotta go small shit, yeah.
You're backing up the motor
Yeah,
sooner.
you got the wheel here, you got this little fucking peanut you're trying to spin, yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but it's right, how much is this fucking 4.8 or this 5.8
And,
you know, to light it.
And that says like, what's your biggest realization or whatever?
Yeah, biggest learning for you.
I mean,
Learning experience.
I'd
and
say
what was your
learning how to tune myself and ignoring everyone on the internet.
Yeah, I did that too. I have
Ignoring everyone's fucking advice. Everyone.
just doing your own fucking thing, trying to come up with your own theories, yeah.
I still have people, and every one of my posts you guys see, even some of you right now are like, why is there only 12 degrees of timing on a Cameron's car?
Yeah, you should
I'm
have
like,
pushed
we put more in it,
It
and
didn't like it.
didn't go anywhere.
It picked up a little bit, but I don't want to sweep up pistons and rods annually like I always do.
Well, we went 1 degree and picked up nothing.
It
And
was
then
like
another
nine horsepower. You put in
Yeah,
one,
which
no,
is-
you put 1.5 in. You put 1.5 in and it picked up 9 horsepower. It's like, it doesn't belong in there. We pulled it out.
Yeah, right, it's not working.
And then we knew everything else was on point because you had already raced that other combo with slightly smaller turbos, and you had gained at the track and then quit, and then we went back, and the dyno showed the exact same thing.
I don't know. I think mine was kind of the same thing. Learning to tune and stuff. But my biggest hurdle was when I first wired the car for Megasquirt back in 2011. Because all I had ever wired before was like, an amp and some subwoofers or something. And I got this shit and I was like, oh my god, the 5 volt, you gotta, daisy chain the 5 volt everywhere.
Right.
It took me, like, I'm not even exaggerating, it took me a week, like a Monday to a Friday after work to just slowly tinker on it until I got the car to start up. And then I started.
That's not that bad.
Well, the Megasquirt, it tells you to put like a 5 amp in the injector or the coils.
Yeah.
And I fired it up,
Could
it
blow
fired
every
it,
time.
instantly shut off.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Right.
I didn't know that
Yeah,
right
we
away,
got
but I was
20.
like, what the fuck? And I like turned it
20
over,
on
dun,
each
dun,
coil
dun,
side,
dun, dun.
nearly.
And then I leaned under the dash and I saw the 5 fuse, and then I started up, and then I went back around the block, and it started pouring while I was driving around the block, and I was like, geez, no wipers, and I got my buddy Joey in the car. Get back in the garage, I'm like,
Right
it
next
works. So that was mine.
Shit.
I think we answered that. Cameron, can you explain exactly how your air to water system is set up, lines used, pump, igloo cooler, etc.? Also, do you find it hassle, or are you okay with the added work involved with it? I'm okay with it now. If I would do it again, I would do it. I don't think I would do it. But it is an igloo cooler. It's a Rule 2000 pump. Right when I was putting it together. Bilge pump.
Bilge pump for
A
the
boat bilge pump.
They're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
How do you beat them?
It works great. It's
I was
meant
about
to move water.
I was about to buy a 1000, but John Vealey was like, that will not be enough. And rather than argue with him, I'm like, okay, you're probably right. So I just bought a Rule 2000, and then like I glued it down. There's a snap-on piece. I glued the snap-on piece to the bottom of the igloo cooler, and it's all 1-inch line. And I'll tell you a pro tip: you see all the pros, they get those like super cool, like clear with the woven lines. They fucking suck.
Someone else said that too.
They suck because what happens is the first time they see heat, they start to delaminate. They're like 2 or 3 layers, and they'll go like this, and then they'll kink.
Yeah.
Everybody buys them because everybody buys them. And when mine started to kink, I just lopped them
No
off
one knows
halfway down
why.
the car. Yeah, and then just put 1-inch heater core line. And so that's the rest of my car is now 1-inch. If I were to ever redo it, I would do all 1-inch. We were actually talking about putting an air-to-air in my car after like, oh, let's bring it to Matt, dyno the car, and then I'm gonna sell the
And you
air
hurt the
water.
motor,
And
and you focused on doing the motor more than doing the rest.
and now that I saw how much power it actually picked up from intake air temperatures and how
You don't know
little
that much
effort it
into
is.
it, and it works. So.
Yeah, and I don't have to change anything, so I'm
That's
probably gonna
working
stick with
good.
air.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I'm gonna stick
working
with
nice.
it. I mean, you gotta buy 20 pounds.
We're
of
like
ice
the
cream.
air-to-air drum beaters, and after you've seen that for long enough, you're like, that's so simple.
I have a
it's
12-volt
nothing.
freezer in the basement. I'll give it to you. You can plug it in. You can fucking make your own ice cubes.
Healthier.
Just leave it there at the track. If I sell it to these guys, pay for your race gas.
For Cameron, how do you like the GT35s? I love them on a 5.3. They're fucking perfect.
The data logs were ridiculous.
Yeah, what did I show you one time? It was like I was thinking 3,500 RPMs at half throttle. I was making 2 psi.
Yeah.
Jarrett cam and
Barely rolling into
rolling into it, and then you stab it and it just instantly
20.
stands up.
20 something.
My car, for some reason, it just hooks on the street. They just
It's
I just lay it
4,000
in
pounds and like
Yeah,
a
it's
4-link.
a-
yeah, it's a 4-link,
setup.
Yeah.
and the instant center is like right at the back. Like it's not negative like Mustangs are, where
Yeah.
it fires back.
So as soon as you hit it, it just like nails at least 2,500 pounds onto the tire.
And if I leave the anti-roll bar hooked up on the street, it's just like, and the front end comes up and
I was impressed the
It's
first time I rode in it. Well, it went 9s, and we were with you in Texas, and you hit it in like it was 4 of us in the car, which will help.
there's a Grand National next to you. You're talking about Grand. There's a Grand. Well, no, you pull. I was.
No, on the on ramp, you hit it in first. You made like a left out of our hotel, and you were like, bap, and it was like dead hook, and you were like 2, 3, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It didn't spin a drop.
No.
I'm like, I mean, you see my videos, where I'm like, brrr.
Yeah. And then we saw the dude in the Grand National,
Yeah.
and I was just talking about how I'm not going to street race, and I looked over at him, and he looked at me, and we both gave the nod of like,
Nailed
let's
it.
fucking do it. And I dropped it to second and laid into it, and I was like, holy shit, because he was actually pulling for me, I think. And I was like, wow, he's actually fast, because I know how fast my car is.
Yeah.
I know it takes decent, and not that I'm like going real fast, but I was like, wow, he's hanging with me. And then like went to like 130, and then like let out. I think we gave each other the nod. And then like a month later, somebody's like, oh, that was my uncle. Was that you? Because nobody got it on video or anything. It just happened so fast. But
We're just like, yeah.
so I broke the law. That's the statute of limitations. It's good. All right, yeah. But yeah, I like the GT35s. Since it's going from a 6-speed to a 5.3, I'm debating swapping my 45 for. I remember this for either a 78 or going twins. If you already set up for the single, just go single. I would think that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Because you already got the fucking.
Exactly,
It's a
yeah.
T4. It's way.
I feel
smaller.
like people that ask that question should just buy the fucking twins. 'Cause
Yeah, they want it.
They
They want it.
deeply.
Want.
have
It'll be
this-
fast.
Right.
They're like, I just want to show people my twins,
Right.
and that they're just never happy with that answer. It's like most of the questions on Sloppy, they're like, what should I do? And you're like, do this, and they're like, well, I don't want to
but I
do
really
that.
want twins.
You're
Why'd you
like,
ask me? Right.
Holy
Fuck you,
shit.
right.
This is a really
And they
long
wonder
ass
why
question.
I'm like salty about answering shit.
You should just say, how much power can I make with this?
It's like-
Alright, if
yeah.
you can make fucking 850, you don't need twins. You can just do it on
Well,
this
that's why
fucking
the
turbo.
goals thing is.
Well,
is
I
the-
really want to fucking open my hood up in a car show. Then fucking put twins on.
Twins,
They can.
twins,
What the fuck
twins,
you
that's
want?
Don't even hook them up to
Right.
anything. Just fucking stuff them under
Right.
there. People
So
don't
what?
look at SEMA. 99% of the cars don't even run.
Right.
1900 horsepower. No.
It doesn't have
no,
injectors
no cold
in
side.
it.
No
There's no
cold.
fuel rails. Everything's fucking chrome though.
More like 0.0.
Yeah.
Yo.
There's a rocket
But it
bunny.
should make 2000.
What was the rear suspension setup on? What was the rear setup?
Yeah, fucking brakes in.
Good.
Pause for 1 second.
Yeah.
Alright.
Sure. We'll be right back.
Be right back, guys.
We're gonna take a break.
I'm
Good
done.
break. It's like
Took it. We got our coffee.
We're happy.
We're
We're
back.
ready to rock.
Coffee run.
Read some more questions.
We left off at what was the rear suspension setup on Mark's White Notch? Brands of upper and lower control arms,
Oh,
coil
yeah,
spring or coil over conversion. Where were they fully adjustables with rod ends, anti-roll barring? And yeah, and he goes on about.
I
Goes
feel
on
like
about,
any one of those
He's going on
catalogs
about
is
those
fine. Yeah. You just
I'd
choose
have
one.
to think about that. Yeah, basically it was a stock location, had like the adjustable, like, they were the.
It was mini tub, so it had coilovers.
Right.
So it had like a version of adjustables. I think it was a mix match of parts. Like I think when people build those, they just choose.
It had the adjustable uppers and lowers. They were like I'm not sure what the fuck brand. They were
QA
on the car.
or
They were the cheaper ones.
or-
Yeah, the adjustable.
It doesn't. The cars just work. Foxes like just work.
But
And when people are slow with boxes, it's
and everyone's like, "What was your opinion?" I go like, "Well, I never changed it. I never checked it. I don't
Something-
fucking honestly know." And they're like, "Well, just tell me. That's not that much of a secret." I'm like, "Well, I don't know." So
Like, I'm not trying to hustle you.
Right.
I don't fucking
I really do. That's what's funny when people ask me stuff sometimes.
like, I don't have the car anymore.
I have
I'm an
no
open
clue.
book.
Tell you.
I have no clue, and I don't give a fuck to look.
I gotta ask,
Right.
when do you make full boost? And what,
I'm like, I got a converter.
okay.
It comes up, and I go.
Your power curve isn't good. It's only a 2,000 horsepower, 2,000
Good thing I have an
power curve.
automatic, bro.
Yeah, mine comes up to 57 and hangs, and then goes 57, 67, 57, 67, then locks. Like, so,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Anyway, well, yeah.
Alright.
I mean, a mixed.
We don't
match,
know. Mark doesn't know what he had.
Rear
I think
suspension,
it had an
yeah.
anti-roll bar.
Yeah, it left really
yeah.
straight.
Yeah, they're rolling the car.
It had like, yeah, it just had a culmination of like all those standard parts. Nothing extreme.
Everything
No
that
double
everybody does.
wishbone or anything weird. Or
No.
it was mostly all. It was stock location lowers, coilovers.
I think with all the Fox
Mini
guys,
tub, 295 DOT Gen 1 tire.
were the rear uppers relocated, you know, in the different, that's what all the Fox guys want to know with the,
No, it was in a stock location. They just said they're adjustable.
Stock location uppers.
so the, okay, because a lot of
I
guys
have
get
a
the brackets
picture.
to point the
I'm
pinion
pretty sure I have
angle
pictures
down,
of
or
the
to point
back
the
end.
No,
upper-
I have pictures somewhere I could find.
It was all simple stuff.
It was basic shit.
Nothing exotic.
Yeah, 'cause the
That's why.
Mustang, the
That's why that
anti-swap
car was so
goes backwards.
crazy. Is it was everything. It was like the totally normal
Not
Fox
the
stock
anti-swap,
build.
it's
Like it just did good.
For Mark, would you rather have the setup that's in the race car in another Fox body, or leave it in the Camaro?
I wish I could just make the Camaro like fucking 500 pounds lighter.
Fuck.
To be honest with you, when I first got in the Camaro to race it for the first time, I was a little nervous. It was different way you sit in the car. I felt like I was sitting kind of like in a bathtub, like where you're fucking.
You were used to a year's worth of
Yeah,
racing.
where the Mustang, I felt like I was sitting higher and looking down at the track, where this was, I felt like I was sitting like in a fucking hole.
You got the funny
So I actually
part.
built the seat up a little bit so my ass would come up like another inch. My head's like close to the cage. But so I was a little nervous at first getting ready to wheel this car because it's a different experience. And, you know, when you're starting to put some power down on a small tire, anything can happen, and you really want to feel comfortable in the car.
Yeah.
So throughout the season, as I got more and more hits on the car, I really became a lot more comfortable in this car and getting used to it. I got the Hans device and some other stuff in this thing that I didn't have in the other car that was 70 cage, so I have more safety features, which, you know, at some level you kind of say, do I really need that? But if something does happen, I want to have it because, you know, because I do have a family and stuff. But so now I am comfortable. I just wish it was lighter. So if I could make a couple changes with this where we get the power to work and get a little bit of weight out of it, and still keep it, you know, I don't want to go fiberglass panels. I don't want to do stupid things, you know.
I think once you figure it out, it'll run the cert the way it sits.
Yeah, it absolutely should. It's just, we're close. We'll, you know, I got to talk to Ron Rose. We can do some adjustments on a couple things and let her have it. But, yeah, you know, Ron
Fastest
Rose
guy.
basically helped, yeah, he helped me out a
Leaps
lot
in the world.
with what components they need, the shocks and all the settings and adjustments. And we're just working on the setup. So right now, I had some issues with the boost control and the CO2 and a couple stupid things. So once I get that settled out, so, you know, so the power comes in more. Instead of if you look at some of the videos, it looks like it comes out and it's like it's kind of bouncing the nose and then it just ramps the boost in hard. So once I get it to leave on a more consistent line, it'll keep the tire planted and then just roll the power and then just power really out, you know, further. So we're getting on it. It's a learning curve for all of us involved. It's not the Mustang where you just throw power out and it would just work and you're like, okay, what else can we do, Matt? Let's go faster, you know? This is like, well, we're spinning or, you know, we got to bring
I'm like,
yeah.
it went faster. I didn't do anything.
You're a genius.
Right.
I didn't do anything.
Right, so the other car made it look that much easier, but with the extra
I
weight.
placeboed that. You just drove faster.
Right.
Just type keys were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tuner Studios closed.
Enhance. Enhance.
And then going
You weren't even plugged in, but it's Bluetooth.
Yeah, it's boof.
And the other car was a 3-speed, it's a 2-speed, so it's a different game too.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm like ready to shift all that. Like, where's, you know, and it's like all
What
together.
ratio is it? 180?
180 first gear.
Well, that was initially like you can see in your first passes.
Yeah.
You were throwing it at like you were used to the 1.2 and you were yanking it at like 6K.
Or 1500.
We were
What's
unknowingly,
he doing?
we were
Come on.
unknowingly mowing through the converter because of the 1.2 gear change was not high enough. And we were like, man, we have a lot of slip. We need to gear it. What the fuck's going on? and he just started winging it out, like making the gear change 71, 72, and like he went his first 173 trip at like E-Town. We're totally out of gear. We're like 7,700, 173, and just by shifting later, he's at like 7K at 180 something.
Yeah, like 7,300.
So it does something inside.
He's like almost 1,000 RPM lower.
Yeah.
It's coupling that much better because
Yeah,
it's
you
getting.
just ride it out first and then whack it later, so it's not, you know, all that
Instead of
heat
just
slipping.
putting all
Actually,
the-
add shift
Yeah,
extension
couples.
instead of
All of that
I bet you
leverage.
I bet you once you shift when you were shifting it earlier, there you didn't even see it. It was just like,
Yeah.
Right.
RPMs
No,
didn't-
literally, yeah.
RPMs didn't drop
You
at all.
couldn't hear the gear change.
Yeah, and you can see this on the logs,
It's
it's
like a load.
yeah. So,
This one is for Matt. How do I upload a 3-bar SD system using HP tuners? I have 2001 2500 HDI.
Well,
You've never posted how to do that, have you?
never completely, because there's so many complete guides on how to convert your car to 3-bar speed density with HP tuners. Literally, if you have HP tuners installed and you press F1 for help and you search speed density or 3-bar, it tells you the entire routine on how to
It tells you
perform
everything.
the exchange.
There.
Yeah. And they can do a better job than I ever could. I have, in my classes, I show people how to do it. But I'm like, well, this is kind of like a moot point because you're going to spend so much time disabling certain stuff, turning off like EGR and other like weird codes, setting other stuff up. I'm like, starting with the clean 3-bar base is like way easier, just dumping on something. Or HP tuners can be like a large beast to learn, so
That's why I haven't even.
that's why we started doing the classes, and I stopped uploading stuff because like, well, the one upload is just like a teaser to make people buy videos, but the other stuff I stopped doing because it generated more questions than help, I think. Because people that want to use it but don't want to do any you need to research. HP tuners is
I want you to spoon.
you have to wrestle it. It's not like when you buy a Megasport car. What's cool about a standalone is I'm like, run this amount of ignition, and it's like, okay,
Got you.
and you're like,
RPM
HP
and
tuners,
load.
run this, and I'm like, it's like, I'm out of my scale, I don't have enough gram cylinders, all this shit isn't right, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck you're not my real dad. And you're like, and you have to like coach it, and scale it, and I'm like, it's so much more. It annoys me a lot of times because Scott Clark will dismiss people that like do GMPP or stock computer tuning. And I'm like, do you know how much, he's like, I hate it, it's dumb. And I'm like, it takes so much, it's like being a veterinarian versus a doctor. A doctor knows how to fix people, but a veterinarian knows how to fix like 48 different animals. It knows that the heart is in a different spot in this animal, and that I'll crush the rib cage if I try to resuscitate this animal. And that if I give this
That's a
cat
really
too
good
much
analogy.
oxygen, it dies of oxygen over. Like, yeah, all ridiculous. Like, that's what it's like to be HP tuned. It also makes a lot of hack job people. But like, what I teach in my classes is people will call people hack job, even if you do a good job. So if whatever you do generates consistent results, fuck it.
You're a good hack job.
Yeah.
All right, I have a swap 2nd gen S10 on airbags. Jamie's favorite vehicle. It came stock with a 2262. Watch out. Vortec TBI motor 60. It's been swapped to 5388. Good. 4-link 8.8. Blah blah blah. I don't care about going super fast. I just like to have a reliable 350 to 400.
Horsepower?
Yeah, and a 5.3.
I'm assuming flywheel, 5.3,
Well,
super
no,
easy.
DW. You want
Like
wheel
cam and long tubes?
horsepower.
Oh,
That's-
just go 6.0. The
Yeah,
displacement
5.3
is,
is not going to do it.
I mean, you can do it, but you're spending more money. Just don't kill yourself. If you're doing all motor, just buy a cheaper, older 6-liter.
I mean,
Everyone's-
you could make like low 300s on a 5.3. They're like cam.
We
long tubes.
easily did like we had a cam literally almost in a trash can, and we bought, it's the dumb way to do it. I'm sure there's cheaper options now, but years ago, like Donovan's car before he turboed the notch, the yellow one that he painted gray, it was all motor,
That
it
was
was hard.
yellow?
It was bright yellow, chalk yellow. It was
That's when the
disgusting.
Corey chopped off the thing on the dyno.
Yeah,
that's
cut the
bad.
fenders on the
Yeah,
Sawzall
love that.
on the dyno. That was a 6-liter with long tubes, like 351 swap headers with the thing cut off and welded to an LS1 flange. And it made, with an exhaust, mostly an exhaust, mufflers in a dump and everything, like at the axle, it made 378 tire on my dyno with a fairly large converter.
Damn, I bet that was fun.
And it was like a cam long tube 6.0.
Yeah, so get a 6-liter.
So 370 tire with like a big stall is pretty dumb, like, especially in
yeah.
a truck.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like low 11-second car, I imagine, or in something in the 11s, depending
Yeah,
on the
easy.
weight. And then he said,
If it leaves hard, it's going.
"What's the cheapest way to control the engine and trans with reliability on that stock computer?" On that, since he wants us, he's got a 4LAD.
Oh
I
yeah,
saw it.
absolutely.
Stop, you see it,
People don't realize. Well, I mean,
Ooh.
if you could just have them drive this car,
Oh,
you're
nice.
like, oh, start, drive.
Said with reliability, with the ability to tune mildly, i.e., ability to control like wet nitrous. You just get a
No.
window switch or a wide open throttle switch. This
Just
is
wire
kit.
a good nitrous
Easy.
kit.
Or just a wet nitrous or a single turbo. No, I mean that's a bunch.
A stock ECU doesn't understand what nitrous oxide is and how to control it and save fail safes.
He says any info would be appreciated, even though Matt hates S10s.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, nitrous, like a completely stock computer, LS car, yeah, you can do all that, no problem. And then if you want to spray it, sure, you already have the 80E. I don't see any.
Just pull the 80 into D3. That's not what a lot of people know. If you're in D4, don't hit it because it's okay to go into overdrive wide open, but when you put it into D3, it applies the overrun clutches and it makes the transmission. Now, you probably wouldn't brake with 400 horsepower, but it just makes
It's
it stronger.
physically and mechanically in its most
Yeah.
robust hydraulic configuration in D3.
D3. All right, Matt, for your turbo setups,
That's
what
the,
for your turbo setups, what type size of tube, what type size of tubing are you using? From exhaust manifolds to the turbo flange. Also, from the looks of a few of your latest videos, it looks like you're running the turbo on the passenger side. On the long run, from the driver's side to the turbo flange, are you running a flex joint? It's a no flex zone.
I always run
embracing the
flexes.
turbo to the
Um,
blogger head. Thanks, love the videos. Have provided a lot of ideas from you. Yeah,
Well,
thanks, Eric.
like the KB style manifolds don't need a support because it's like scheduled 90 thick wall stainless that you can jack the car up by. It holds a 60-pound turbo, no problem. It's fairly close to the cylinder head. It has
Not a
no
bunch of
stress.
leverage. Yeah.
I mean, like if you look at people like Jared is running KB setup, same thing as I pretty much
Jump,
have.
going 7.7.
Yeah, it's awful. But crossovers, I always run a flex, but I take the packing joint out. But on top of that, I like to have a flex. One of the reasons why is I'm a terrible welder, and I don't know how to weld something, so it doesn't work. So if I try to hard mount anything, I can't get my V-bands on, and that's a goddamn nightmare. Because everything's leaking, and then it's a disaster, and then it like blows out the V-band, the V-band sucks, and you start hating your life because you can't keep V-bands on, and it leaks and it ticks, and everything's retarded.
You break the nut because you're over torquing and you're crying on hey.
Yeah, it's like a constant nightmare story. And for me, like, I'm like, oh, I have like a flex this big,
perfect.
and like you
Close.
can, yeah, you're like, every time. Like Jamie's, I built with a flex on hers. I always built, like even Reiner's built that forward-facing kit for me. That was supported because it was both tubes going into a fully divided setup. Well, like he said, what size? 2-inch, 190 inside diameter, over 700 plus rear wheel.
I have 2.5 on my twins though, so some people.
What I say is whatever tubing you have, or whatever
Yeah.
you can buy.
I think that's too
Because
much
sometimes
thought.
I think people strain themselves. It's one of those things.
Whatever got on the ground.
Yeah.
It's
Whatever
like
you got in the corner.
Yeah, people don't realize I have like a bucket of total horseshit piping. They're like, why does that stuff look so bad and weld so terrible?
Anywhere
I'm like, it's an
between 2 and 2.5.
18-year-old exhaust pipe from a Crown Vic. That's why it looks awful.
Didn't even grind off the rust.
No, yep, it takes less time to just get it hot and keep welding.
So yeah, it's a 2. All right, turbo flange.
People are like, how can you get a car done in like a weekend?
'Cause
Because
I
I
don't give a
didn't
shit.
sand
Yeah.
all of my fucking weld joints.
3 things. 1 suggestion. 2 questions. Video for you.
And oh no, anyway, hot side, cold side, 2.5, 2-inch. People stress over exactly what it has to be. Doesn't matter. Whatever fits in your car the easiest is going to be easiest for you. If you're trying to fit 3-inch for no goddamn reason, it's hitting everything. You're dumb. You're going to melt everything. If you're making it, I mean, we've done 190 ID, 2-inch, and that's yours has only like what's it? Just is it 2.5 out of here, or 3-inch or whatever?
Goes to 3, yeah.
I mean, we've made.
But that's only fucking probably like 2 1/4 right there.
If you consider my truck is using a KB style and Jared is using a KB style, it's flowing one manifold into the ass of the other manifold and then up into a turbo. It's a giant backup system.
It shouldn't work.
Shouldn't work.
Yeah.
It makes tons of power. And
Makes
it's
15.
proven many times.
Exactly.
But and then cold side, whatever fits. Again, like if you're gonna struggle to fit 3, just put 2.5. Depends on how much power, but man, like my one buddy Safi has like 2.5 inch. In some parts, I think it's 2-inch.
Yeah, like
the Grand
yeah.
National. That's the
Like
one that makes like
990s,
7.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a seriously heavy car, and a foot brake's a 990 at 140.
That's a GNX, the silver one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it's
T-type.
T-type,
that you
yeah.
stock.
Took the GM motor out, yeah.
That has like relatively small piping everywhere, and it like what? Yeah, again, like boils down to like what your goal is.
Yeah,
but
we had 3-inch for this car, we did the exhaust, so we took that.
lately
one.
we
Oh,
do a
had
lot
that
of
one,
3.
scraped this with 3
Yeah,
inch.
I have enough 3 or 2. Usually, I like to make really small hot side piping because it's
Compact,
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like on the Reiner's kit, it's 2 2-inch feeds. So that you can't hold the turbo on 2 flex pipes. So that actually had a thing to the front. Actually,
Right.
he built a bracket that came off the rad support, went down and then 90'd under the turbo.
Such a wizard.
And it held it all up. Because what's going to happen is that a 70-pound turbo is going to sag in those flexes and it's going to blow them out. It's going to stretch the top and bow the bottom, and they're going to be gone in like 2 weeks.
3 things, 1 suggestion, 2 questions. Suggestion for your video is a remote mic. I think he's talking about the actual video. I've never had a problem hearing. Okay.
I think he means for LS1 Tech too, because I clipped that to the table, and I was
Oh,
like,
the mouse, yeah.
I was drinking and nervously pawing the mouse,
Yeah.
and it was attached to the table, and I was getting the mic. Like that's why I put that on the jack, because if we touch this with our feet, or you put your phone, that's like
Like if you put a GoPro on a cage, it does the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why I tell people, I'm like, do not. They're like, I can cage mount it. And I'm like, it's
Not a
so
good idea.
noisy.
You're
It's
gonna
not
hear
like
your rear
cameras-
end and you're gonna think you're fucking
cameras
car
on metal.
breaking.
Yeah, it sounds like something's going on.
You're
in
like,
the
what's
motor.
going
Just
on?
mount it to
Oh,
your
you're like,
helmet.
nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. It's just solid mount.
I don't know if they mean for the radio show or for LS1 Tech or what, but I don't know.
2 questions. I'm a new subscriber. Do you ever mess with nitrous? Don't think I've ever heard you talk about it much.
Go
Your
back
old
a
video.
couple of years, all we did was nitrous. It became so expensive. It has like gone
Used to
up
be what, like
5
$2
times.
used
in
to be like
price.
what, $2 a
Mark
pound
used to
for
do a
you,
lot of
$2 a
nitrous
pound?
too.
Back in the day,
It was like 2 a pound. for
It
you
used to
back
be
then?
like we would laugh. It was
Yeah.
so cheap we'd
Fill
pour it
them
into
up
the
for
air.
20
Yeah, I used to get the medical grade
We're
back
like-
in the 90s, and had to get the permit, whatever, New Jersey. New Jersey regulates everything, but I used to get a bottle like that
$20
size for like, yeah, it was like $30, whatever
Oh,
the fuck it was.
Yeah.
I'd fill my own
I
bottles.
would purge for
We had a
days.
fill station and we
Oh,
would
it was-
fill.
yeah.
We would fill one person's bottle and the rest of it was free. We cleared the cost.
Right.
I'd purge like I was Stevie Bass.
Yeah.
Like the 4 kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to have, was it the small block and big block?
If he watches back, we have some cars that made serious power.
My favorite, that Mercury or the 5 liter. Was it
A
Mercury?
lot of it was junk cars that we had a kit we would pass around and just wire to the horn. A lot of people don't realize the horn is like the easiest way, because the horn relay has like a 30 amp relay.
That's
You
enough.
disconnect the horn and suitcase connector it. You don't have a horn and you have 30 amps worth of fused relay stuff ready to rock. And when
AOD
you pull the
smoking
suitcase off, plug the horn back in, no one fucking knows any better. So we would
Just
rent
as
cars.
quiet
to
as the
do
horn,
that.
so you hit the nitrous, you're like, get the fuck out of my way! The horn goes off too.
Yeah, and then we had other cars where we did like a big wet kit and we used the washer tank for fuel and
I
we've
remember
done all sorts of
that.
stuff like that. If you look up the Ventura when we were spraying it big, my buddy's Firebird, Donovan's Firebird before we turboed it, was a bolt-on LS1, cam, long tube, spray, high to mid 10-second car, 225 shot on top of a stock LS1. It had like a 4600 yank, and he would just be like whap right into a 200 shot out of the hole, like idle.
350, 400, what train is?
It was 80 E swaps.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's what we learned with the disdain for 60Es.
Oh, how many?
Because
how many
he
of those
had
you
like
bought?
he had like a multi-$1,000 60E built. They made 515 tire on spray, and it would go like 10.8, 10.6,
And then burn the 3 boards up.
and then 1-2 passes it wouldn't shift to 2-3, and he'd have to pedal and pedal and pedal, and it would hit 3, and then it wouldn't go home. And then after a while, he kept taking it to different guys, and the one guy was arguing with him, and he got so pissed off. They're like, nope, not us, it's you guys, it's you guys. They bought a stock tranny off Craigslist out of like a truck, slammed it in the Firebird, made a pass, didn't do it. And they're like, they had to do all of that just to prove to the trans builder that the 60E he built was junk. So that at that point, the car went 80E and never had a problem again. Until the car had so many miles on it, he clogged up his fuel filter. And he was spraying, and on motor it was actually lean, and he knocked the piston out of the LS1. Now it's 6-liter billet S480, whatever. It goes 10.0 now. Foot brake, 140. It weighs 4,000
Same as my
pounds.
car.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about going supercharger or lower on an LS engine?
Just so expensive, no.
Too much.
Unless someone gives me one, they're so goddamn expensive. Especially if you pit them up against like a Chinese turbo. It's
The harmonics on
Like,
the
Yeah, I
right.
was just
you
gonna
have-
say that.
you have
What
two-
about main?
What-
you
the
are,
fucking
yeah,
range
you're
for what?
pulling, yeah, nope.
You're yanking on the fucking nose of the crank for what? You get turbos that
I'm
are
just
fucking
not a
make
fan.
more power with 3 horsepower. Man. I think the exhaust is better.
Yeah, not really.
Matt just got a GoPro, actually a knockoff, was wondering what editing software you use or to recommend for somebody with little experience editing videos.
I usually like to do as little editing as possible. A lot of times I'll do one takes on my phone and upload it unedited. I hate when people post-process and put giant white text and try to like clickbait people and fucking put like
It's professional tuners.
stupid
hate
noises
me.
and laugh tracks and yeah, like, you know, I think that's one of the things people like. But anyway, for doing actual editing, when I have to, like this will be multiple files I have to stitch. I use what's called Sony Vegas, and right now I'm using version 12. I've slowly kept upgrading, but I use Sony Vegas. I like that the most. It's all like, it's a personal preference question almost. It's like, what do you use, Holly or Pro EFI or what? And it's like, well, whatever. If people in your area know how to use it and have support, and yeah, I use Vegas. I like Vegas a lot.
What got you all into the whole car and drag racing things? Also, why did y'all go down the road of junkyard and simple, cheap turbo stuff instead of what most other people are into, like high horsepower?
I'll interrupt and say I'm alarmed at the amount of good questions we got during this video.
Yeah. Big fancy things.
Good job.
What were your first cars? What were your first builds and mechanical experiences? And lastly, do you have any thoughts or opinions on those big 8-liter trucks? Engines GM produces in the early 2000s.
That's like every 40 questions. 8-1, 8-1, 8-1.
It's got cubic in. What is that? A 450?
It's a 496, I believe.
Good Lord.
But it's junk. It has like pencil rods, and the rest of the motor isn't really any good. It's not like all the stuff that's usable on an LS or intercompatible.
I like the people that thank us too. Thanks as always. And thanks for all you do. You guys are awesome.
No.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yes.
I mean, I don't really do much.
I'll get back to this question though real quick.
Yeah, tell us.
You know, we started off in the car.
How did you start?
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I had an older brother who was 2 years older than me, and he had a 77 Trans Am, like smoking the van, like the fucking gold version of it. And he blew up the fucking 400 Pontiac motor. He would just scream until it spun all the bearings out of it and shit. He's like, oh, I'm gonna put a Chevy motor in this thing. So my uncle, who used to drag race, he had a 70 Chevelle, had an LS6 in his fucking shed or whatever at the time.
What is that for? What size is that for? That I know they had LS6s back then. What is that?
454, yeah. So it was a 454 fucking solid lifter fucking motor. So he like shoehorns this thing in there, and you know, he's like a half-assed mechanic.
What did people say about that back then? Putting a Chevy in that?
You know, it's the same cult shit. You know, you get some guys that love it, and other guys are like, "What are you fucking retarded? What are you doing this for?" But my brother didn't give a shit. He was just like a renegade. He was out of control. He used to have like dirt bikes. He'd like ride through the center of town, do wheelies and shit, get chased by cops, and fucking out of control. And but then he got in the army. And he got killed in a car accident when he was 20, and it was a whole fucked up disaster. But I started, you know, when I was growing up, you know, my brother and I, we kind of like had to MacGyver a lot of shit because my dad was sick. He wasn't really able around, or, you know, he had MS and he was always sick. And so we had like a fucking, you know, a dirt bike or whatever that was fucked up, and we had to make it work with the shit that we had. My dad was a pipe fitter, so whatever was in the garage, we just fucking find stuff and like rig up shit. And then we had this old guy down the street who was like a friend of my grandfather, who was like an old fucking like steel worker. So he'd weld shit for us. We were like, oh, can you know,
put this and this together at this angle?
I'd be like, Mr. Menzer, do you have a minute? And he's like, I'm working on lawnmowers and shit. And he's like, yeah, what's going on, Mark? I'm like, oh, we just want to put this here and make this bracket up for this dirt bike. And he's like, yeah, no problem. And he just welded shit up for us, and we'd talk to us for like 3 hours, and we'd go home and we'd fucking get working. We'd be riding this thing around the streets and get in trouble and go to bed. And the next day we'd do the same shit. So we always had MacGyver the shit that we had, and like I said, the thing with the Grand Prix and racing back at Englishtown and that stuff, I love doing that. But the other reason I got into cars was my grandfather used to drag race back in the 60s. He had a 64 Comet. He fucking Chevy swapped that thing back in the day. He must have got crucified for that.
Chevy swap bloodline.
I pulled his old shirt out. I found that shirt when I was cleaning my grandmother's basement out because she passed away this year, and I was cleaning the
I
house
remember that
out.
picture over there, the Comet or whatever.
Yeah,
the white one over there.
And there's a fucking sign.
Oh, the gasser?
Yeah.
Yeah, the fucking gasser.
Chevy swap.
And if you look back there, there's a sign from the old car lot. My grandfather had a used car lot, and during the summers I'd work up there, and we'd fucking, you know, help my uncles do shit, or they'd work on the race cars or whatever. So they had a couple lifts, and you know, if I had a major job, they'd like fucking be like, because our fucking floor where I grew up, the floor was so full of oil and shit that you couldn't even roll a fucking creeper on it. It was like you would sink it. It was like fuck, you know. So I'd just take cardboard and go under there and slide it and shit. That's just a small picture I found and posted on Slops a while back, pulling a fucking motor out of the Grand Prix with my buddies and my neighbor in the freezing fucking garage. We had like one of those barrels. We had like this fucking old. It looked
Fire
like
barrel or
it
what?
looked like it had a propane line going to it, and you'd be like fucking ready to die from the fumes after like 20 minutes. We'd have to open the door and like ventilate it, so because you couldn't even see, your eyes would burn so bad. And we'd build shit there, and I just fucking loved doing it. Like, you know, then I met my wife. We were dating, and she'd be like, well, where are you? You know, she'd come over. My mom's like, oh yeah, he's in the fucking garage. And I just, you know, she's like, oh, I knew. She would just like hang out in the house and like watch TV until I got done fucking beat my knuckles up, and I come inside.
Covered in grease.
Yeah. And my neighbors hated me because like the fucking houses, it was like row houses, like 50 by 100 lots. So the best story was I had the fucking small block. It had a 383 stroker in this fucking. They had a 350. I blew that up, and then we stroked it. I got a crank from some jerk off and the crank was bent. The thing wouldn't even spin when I tightened the fucking nails down. I'm like, what the fuck? I bring it back to the guy and the guy's like, there's nothing wrong with the crank.
You need
I said, well, fuck you. I said, put that in one of your motors here and spin it, motherfucker. It's not gonna spin it. It's fucking bent. Yeah. So I almost threw it through his window. And then, so I get this thing back together and I'm in the driveway. I'm fucking with it all day. A couple of my buddies are laughing and shit, and they're like, all right, let's start it up. It's got open headers, fucking long tubes under this thing. It's on 4 jack stands in my driveway. And my buddy's like, do you want to let it up now? I'm like, yeah, let's start up and break the can. You gotta break the can. You gotta break the can on this motherfucker, right?
You gotta hold it for 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, we started up. I'm holding this thing at like fucking 2,800, $3 grand or whatever the fuck it is. And it's echoing off the fucking neighbor's house. And the guy comes out in his bathrobe.
Windows are like wall.
Oh, he comes out in his bathrobe and he's like, what? I shut it off. He's like, what are you doing? He's like,
Just run the cam, man.
My wife's 6 months pregnant. The fucking windows are shaking in my fucking house. He's like, the shit's falling off the walls in the kitchen. And I'm like, what time is it? I'm sorry. He's like, it's like fucking 2 in the morning. I go, holy shit. I go, I thought it was like fucking 9 o'clock, dude. I go, I've been at it all day working on this thing. I'm so sorry.
I need 12 more minutes on the cam, though.
And meanwhile, my mom's like fucking sound asleep. She's like, I'm not going the fuck out there. This guy's gonna kill my son. But yeah, it's crazy shit. I mean, stupid shit. But yeah, so that's how we got into it. And then you know, going on the track, and then my uncles were into it and shit. Just, you know, either you
were
fucking,
cursed to be.
either you love doing it or you don't. You know, it's either, you can't explain to people who are not into it. Like, you know, if
Like
I had a format, I mean, certain things I delegate or have, you know, I got a team of guys that we work together doing shit. But if I didn't know the basic undertakings I had to do, I wouldn't fucking want to do it. I wouldn't, you know. My background is I started off as a mechanical engineer in college, and I switched to the business school my junior, senior year. I'm like, you know, I like to be around people and do shit, but I like to know the workings of how it should work, and then give my feedback, and then talk to Matt and other professionals who know what the fuck is, you know, how to do shit. I use that word.
Matt and actual professionals.
And actual professionals, yeah. But you know, it's kind of like having a working knowledge, like, you know, and then tapping into your resources to get the desired result. So. But that's, and I like the challenge. I mean, the struggle, it sucks when you break shit, but that's part of the game. If you don't...
You learn something from it.
Yeah.
When you're making new mistakes.
You can't always keep stepping forward. In life, where you're building cars or racing, you're always going to, you know, there's going to be times you get kicked in the face, knocked off the stairs.
I think working with cars teaches you some patience and disappointment and, what's that, managing your goals or...
Humility.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of that stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's cool though, yeah. It's, you know. And then you got the young regime like Devin and, you know, Nick and the other guys who are in their 20s, bringing them in. I'm 45, I'm the old guy in the room, you know. You know, I forked
Not
out
much
the
else
door.
from 31.
32? Yeah. So I got a couple of years on you guys, but it's cool. Anyway, so.
Me, it's easy. When they started doing that group buy for the long tube headers, I was like, fuck it, I'll get them. And then I went fast one time, and I saw that I was faster than a lot of people, and I was like, this is cool. I guess I'm good at it.
Right.
And I just kept going with it, and then blew it up, LS, and now
Turn back.
No
turn
and now, you know, I build transmissions for a living. Like, you know, I'm an apprentice, but you know, that started as a hobby. Like, I was in college to be a teacher, and I was building transmissions on the side. And I got to my senior year, I was 1 semester away from getting a college degree. And I'm like, I don't know, this is what I want to fucking do for the rest of my life. And this guy at this local transmission shop was like, you want to be an apprentice? He's like, I don't want to do this much longer. You take over this bitch when you're done, or when I'm done. I'm like, are you joking? Like, I'll be your apprentice. And I started working for him, and now I'm full time, and now I'm sweet, and I make all right money. I love what I do, and you know, it's like that the hobby of building transmissions on the side, and you know, because necessity is the mother of invention. And I didn't have $3,000 space when we building a transmission, so I'm like, I'm gonna start reading and figure out how to do this, and built it, you know, with a lot of help from a lot of people, and people trust me to build theirs, and now I'm doing it for a living, and I love it, and it's awesome. Yeah. So what about
Build a transmission?
Right now, yeah.
Right now, yeah.
You got a bench.
Tonight, yeah.
Look at
On this ping pong table.
Yeah, a flathead at 8, 10, 13, and some snap ring plier.
Well, I got into like computers in school, and then it started to be my job, and then I hated it because it was my job, and I didn't want to mess with them anymore. And I'm like, and I got into cars like I don't even know how really. I just found an interest in cars, and I was always been like a super skeptical person. So I'm like, why does everyone sound like they're totally bullshitting about their vehicles? So like I'm one of those people too that likes to know like everything about something. So yeah, I would just dive into like knowledge and learning stuff on my own, and I like calling people out on their shit. So that became full circle where like people were like, I got a fast car, and I'm like, you seem like more of a douche than your car is fast. So like eventually you learn how to like load yourself with that ammunition to just make those people look like asses. That's fun. And then you start doing stuff on your own, and you're like, well, this works. And then
I just love seeing guys that build motors go slow.
Yeah, that too. Like that's whole part. That's like full circle. And then on top of that, I met like a lot of awesome people through cars. So that's the whole other aspect of that. But that's basically how I got into cars. And then we started doing like being total idiots. Like my early videos were literally before Cash for Clunkers would buy like a $150 car. A couple of my friends worked at dealerships as like low-level sales, detailers, whatever, and they're like, "Yo, someone just traded in an '89 Merc."
We get it for $100.
And we're like, "Here's $50," and we're like smash to a fence over a curve, like Blues Brothers it out of the lot, and they're like, "Never sell those assholes a car again." And then there's pictures of us going sideways through a field with no hood, with nitrous fireballs coming in. Like literally, that's how we started. And then like we inadvertently started building fast stuff, and then it was repeatedly fast, and then we could start teaching people how to make repeatedly fast cars. And it slowly was like, you guys are idiots. And then they're like, these are fast idiots.
Right.
And then they're like,
how do you do it?
Yeah,
they're
going faster than
repeatedly
us.
fast
Right.
idiots.
Now.
And because I just started applying, like, because I feel like it's funny, like, the more people act secretive, the more I learned, like, because, like, we live in, I grew up in Macungie, and there's, like, the giant Macungie car show and stuff like that.
So
and a lot of those guys, like, I talk about this all the time. Yeah, like, they're like, check out my badass street rod, and it's like having trouble filling 3-inch exhaust. The motor is so anemic, and they're like, yeah, listen to that, yeah, and they hit it, and it's like, and it like squeaks a tire, or like squeaks one wheel, and I'm like, that's not badass. That sounds like it has trouble turning the tires.
My toy car.
Like yeah, so that stuff starts burning into my head, like how much I hate like car show stuff, and then like yeah, it has just made me like the angry. Point at people and say no.
It fucking sucks.
Yeah. So then we started building. What was even funnier is I'm like, I started thinking like pretty ain't fast. It's like pure like results driven. Like when we started doing like building turbo cars and we saw people did LS swaps and everything else. And I'm like, we could do that. This stuff looks fucking easy. So we made it ugly and fast. And now like, we can show people how else to do it. But
you want to like go quick through some of these?
We can do the lightning round here at the end.
Alright, question has to do with finding mechanical limits to a stop LS rotating assembly. I'm guessing you discovered limits of a Gen 3 motor through trial and error and discovered 550 is the most they can take. I was hoping you could elaborate more on the trial and error process for your discoveries. I went 9s on a Gen 3, but then I sold the motor right after that because it scared me.
Yeah.
So,
you never know. It's total dice roll with the Gen 3. I know the Gen 4 will go. But yeah, I think it's like it's a whole package deal, I think, with the Gen 3. Like, if there's any little bit too much back pressure, a little bit too much this, a little bit too much struggle, they need to be like, it needs to all be dead on. Yeah. And then I feel like obviously like a high RPM turbo setup, like big twins or a big single, like Big Bang Theory, like where they're hitting it so late with big ass turbos and big boost, like by the time it's swung up into that RPM range, you're not really gonna have a problem.
Yeah, because then everybody's like, oh, this should be making 1400.
Was asking for mechanical limits or how to find them?
How did we find it?
Well,
how did you find it?
Show it or blow it.
Yeah, that's it.
You're standing on it and be like, man, this is. People say you can make 800 on these, and I'm like, man, you can't do that. And then now we're like nailing out high 8s in the last 2 cars, so like, oh shit, we can. And now people that like used to lie about it are like, oh shit, they're actually doing it.
Yeah.
I feel that way.
Yeah,
anyway.
like Jarrett when he first came to Sloppy Mechanics, and he's like,
I'm like, that guy's a total
went
liar.
842 at 160 something.
I'm
like
like,
this
stop
guy's
it.
full of it.
Knock it up.
We like trolled
It's my total skeptical attitude.
It's fucking hilarious.
Yes.
And then
I'm
he
like,
did it.
no, provide me with fact,
And then
sir.
he showed the bent rods.
That's what's funny. Like that's why I think I have so many videos that are uploaded. Because I'm like, I did that 40 times, and the end result was always you're wrong. So
Should have tried a 41.
yeah,
Matt, has there been any issues with the Latvian 210s, drivability wise, yada yada yada?
I don't have them yet.
Okay.
They work fine.
Tony's had them in for 2 years. They
Mark
seem
has 'em.
like no issue in this car.
Hey,
So we'll see.
how much studio cycle were we using at 1300? Almost,
50%.
yeah, almost
With
1400
too
horsepower.
much,
last night.
too much fuel too, right? You had to trim some out.
It was still it was like a 10.8 and it was 50% with like 1390 wheel. We'll see how they do on my truck. I'm gonna drive my truck for hours and hours
it heat soaked the shit out of it.
But
'cause, you know.
everyone said the 160s do have the problem, and I bought them, and they do.
And they did.
And everyone says the 210s really don't have the issue,
And they don't.
and they don't seem to. So,
Yeah,
but we won't know until I can say they're in, they're fine,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. But I
We're
don't have
testing
them
it
yet.
out,
I'm
but
still
so far,
waiting.
so good, yeah.
They said early January I should get them. They're on a slow boat from Latvia. Literally.
They want to know if I run a, they want to know if I run a trans brake on the Crown Vic. What's the transmission setup? No, I don't run a trans brake.
Foot brake, stock 80.
Foot brake for life. I'm a big fan of anti-lag launch control. It's just nicer on parts. My rear end isn't really that strong. It's a 31 spline track lock. And what's the transmission setup?
So is mine.
It's a 4L80E with a billet input shaft that Jake's Performance gave to me, and it's a triple disc converter that Jake's Performance touched up. And their valve body recalibration kit, 6 clutch direct, some roller bearings, a couple places, just the tricks the pros taught me. And
Shit's nice.
Mine is
Perfect.
unbelievably
Yeah.
totally stocked with an HD2 kit. With most of an HD2 kit. We don't even put the full HD2 kit in. And while we're doing it, pieces fell out and we laughed and
those are fine. Mark, what's the white Fox body weigh? You already said
3075
3050 with
Yeah.
with you.
With me, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm
Once-
about 220-ish, give or take.
Gosh, that's 2800 or 2700.
28.
Wow.
It's about 28-ish. Yeah.
power windows and all.
All right, this guy's a really long question. We'll should read the first one.
Yeah.
Once
I
that
used to
area-
do to the guys, right?
Yeah.
They're packing their parachutes, I'm like, they even roll the windows down.
Yeah.
They're like, this fucking asshole.
Asshole.
It's 850 dickhead.
Yeah.
When they're getting their golf cart to
Yeah, they're all getting towed. You guys need a tow? I'm gonna hitch on the back.
Yeah, just grab my chute, boys. I'll pull you.
Look at the
When setting the rev limiter on a micro squirt turbo car, do you recommend fuel cut, spark plug, spark cut, spark retard, or a combination of these? I
Always
downloaded
spark.
spark
Because
Just keep
I
fuel in
feel
it, right?
like keeping the fuel in there is needed. Because if you're turning the injector on and off, you may inadvertently create a lean condition. By just disabling the spark, you're still at the appropriate amount of fuel when the ignition
and it
comes
cools it
back
a little bit
online.
too. Then
And it's always spraying. At least that's my
Right.
totally unprofessional opinion.
yep, gotta give that disclaimer.
Yeah.
My current setup is a stock cam LQ4 PT88. I guess probably the 88, 83.
Stock cam, damn.
That's what it fucking neat. Okay, I didn't even see that the first time. TH350, you're brave. 18.5 pounds, running 920s at 36. Okay, if it's running, I want to run 850s in the range. Is it worth it to build a 400 cubic inch motor? Or
Yeah,
should I
just put a cam in it.
or should I throw pistons and rods? No,
If
you
you
should
have
put
a
a
stock
cam.
goddamn cam, just buy a turbo
Oh no,
cam.
I read it wrong. Stock with the cam.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm like,
I
holy
assume
shit.
the 350
Yeah,
doesn't.
their stock candy's going, what?
I'll
I
assume.
was like, damn.
I'll take a guess and say the 350 isn't running a brake, just maybe. I say put a brake on it.
Yeah, 400.
Yeah.
If,
Or yeah, get a 400.
you have to know if the 60 foot isn't that great.
Yeah, what's your 60 foot? Are you trapping like hell, but you got like a
if it's like a 1.6 and you can stand to cut a 1.2,
yeah.
there's your mid eights.
If I go the piston and rod route, can I just stuff them into my used motor without rebuilding? You guys, like you guys when you swap Gen 4 to Gen 3 stuff? I'm not a fan of that. I would balance it in the 6 liter in my car. I balanced it and I sleep better at night. It's 200 something bucks to get it balanced. You just bring it all to a machine shop and say balance it with bob weights, and they do that. So I don't know that you threw pistons and rods in this, didn't you?
I've done stock
I
Gen
didn't balance
4.
it. Yeah,
I've done stock Gen 4 stuff and never.
This has used pistons and rods to go on
As
Craigslist.
long as
And
it
you
took
didn't
me
balance
to.
anything.
No,
As
and
long
I
as
got
you-
it from this guy, and he's like,
So two
well,
different
they're good. I get them, and like the one rod's like burned up, and he's like, oh, I had them resized. I'm like, dude, the fucking rod is like fucking purple. Like, I can't
So
use
you
this.
bought a replacement.
Yeah, so I call Scat, and they're like, oh, just send me the thing. We'll like match balance the fucker within like a couple grams, like $70 ship. I get it back, I just fucking put it on the fucking business, let's go. If it's in the car,
800 and change and trap 140.
144.92, let's go.
I had a motor that was a Gen 3
It's smooth, I mean.
with a Gen 4 pistons and rods in it with 2 different cylinder heads on it, and that thing made 711 tire for months and months and months, and then eventually broke a ring lamp, but that wasn't because it wasn't balanced. Every use had gaskets. And
So two different answers. They say no.
But for $200,
Whatever the hell
yeah,
you
you
feel
put
like
in your
doing.
budget with your, what
if
you want
you
to do.
don't have much money,
I mean, Reiner's what he did.
Right.
He's got pistons and rods.
He
No
slammed
bob weights.
China rods
Slammed it in. He's good. He's a wizard though. So then,
yeah.
all right. Any chance you might partake in the 24 hours of Lemons Builder? I think the three of you could be a dream team. Well, thank you. And it would get you away from the drag strip.
I'm totally
I don't
like
think want to get
totally
away from the drag
uninterested in
strip.
circuit racing like that.
You are or not?
Not interested
Doesn't
at
you?
all.
Yeah. It doesn't really get me.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'd rather drive a go-kart around and hit people.
Here you
First
go.
of all, thank you for all you do. Your videos are very helpful and informative. Start off with a compliment.
Hey,
What do you
thanks.
think? Anyway, just right to the business. Anyway, how important is fuel injector data? I don't remember this.
I'm assuming they mean the HP tuners, in which case all of my tunes with all the different injectors are all stock data. I don't touch it at all. Early on when you start reading stuff about HP tuners, they're like, you have to change it, you may have to. I never do and I don't have a problem. I have more problems trying to put in shit data from people than I did just not touching it at all.
And looking at the air fuel.
And like sizing it by injector size or other things.
Have any of you tried using water meth injection combined with the ep5? I did, and when I was non-intercooled, I wouldn't do it again. I mean, people do it all the time. Just don't spray 2 15-gallon per hours and a 10-gallon per hour on the while you're two-stepping at the line.
Right.
Spraying all that.
You can load the motor down.
Yeah, I'll show you the video. It's called
Yeah.
Crown Vic. Clocks out. I get to about the 60 foot and it goes pop pop, and I sucked it into 2 holes and bent 2 rods.
Yeah.
And then
Puddle.
The hydraulic, yeah.
and then put 2 pistons and rods in that, and 2 weeks later went 996.
Yeah.
But yeah, I live in the desert. Would love to use water meth for its cooling properties as well as the 85 ignition time. What do you guys think? Well, you said earlier that lower cars like it sometimes.
Yeah, it all depends on your setup. Like you can just try it and see how you do.
On a dyno, everybody thinks that you just cram timing in it. Since it's on, I swap from 93 to 85 at 5 degrees. It doesn't work like that. I have a cabinet full of pistons and rods to prove that
Either
theory.
slowly check your gates at the track. Like Mark's car is such an animal on the roller. We can't hit all the cells that we would hit at the track. So obviously we get something that's just to get it down the track, and we always have to touch it up once we get to the track. Because it's totally different. The way the converter comes
Loads
up
it
and
and all
everything else, and all the cells we hit it.
This is one of those douchebag questions that you shouldn't fucking ask.
Is that what he's, the
It
person
starts
said?
off with, it's one of those douchebag questions. But how do you make a car shoot flames on the 2-step? I have a Lingenfelter
A
box.
Lingenfelter box isn't a real 2-step. That's why you don't shoot badass fireballs
Yeah,
like
fuel.
standalone guys do. Not really. It's just the point is like the LPE box can't just do what a full-on like boost build anti-lag setup is capable of. You can tell right away when someone has like a watt box or something like that. It's like it's just a limiter. It's just a rev limiter.
It doesn't pull timing.
It's not like anti-lag. Full-on rally style anti-lag is totally different than boost build or launch control anti-lag.
That pulls it all the way down on every single.
Well, that's every time you lift off the throttle, it's trying to make boost so it doesn't lag when you get back into the throttle on like a rally car with a big turbo.
Right.
That's anti-lag.
Okay, so I'm
it's
calling
like-
it to something wrong. It's boost. Okay,
It's
launch
negative-
control. I see
yeah.
what you're saying. So it's that. What does it do?
Sometimes
in the
people like I'll say something about anti-lag,
Mm.
and someone who's like has Subaru in their username is like,
You are a liar.
that's not WRC anti-lag. You're a fuckwit. And I'm like, yeah. So like launch control, boost build style anti-lag, just on a standalone is much more capable. It can put your ignition into the negatives, and what's happening then is when you get to that far into the low, like 0 degrees or negative degree event, the exhaust valve has already started to open to let the combustion out that never happened. And it goes, and it lights it with the exhaust valve open. And it blows up dynamite in the hot side, which is how you can easily torch an exhaust valve.
That's spool game though.
Because it's like, hey, exhaust valve, I'm totally unstrapped. Burn. It's like, how do you like motherfucking temperature, asshole?
How hot do you
That's why some people are
1300
like,
IATs
someone made a
or
comment, I fireballed
EGTs.
out my hood the other day. That's like what happened to Mark's car, where the intake valve didn't shut, and it fired, and it burnt the fireball out the intake. That's what it's doing out the exhaust. And it depends on your setup and a lot of other things, what it likes, but classically you are pushing it into the negatives and firing it when the valve is open. And you can torch shit. You can bomb, some of that, I mean, you've seen Supras and stuff, some of it's so violent, you're like, how does it not chuck exhaust
It's
bleeds?
like 190 degrees
Well, it
back to
does.
top dead center.
It does chuck exhaust bleeds and shit sometimes. That's why people are like, yours is kind of soft, and I'm like, I know.
Because I'm not doing it.
It's a turbo V8. I'm like blah, 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 blah. Like you can hear it just hitting the retard,
Yeah.
and it's like making boost. It's like, like it boosts, like not, it's just stumbling and it's in boost. I don't have to be like rattling it at 7,500 and bombing my clutch out. But yeah, that's why the Lingenfelter box, someone told my buddy who built the Turbo Firebird, the stock computer, put the Lingenfelter box on, he's like foot braking it, it's like and it just hits 0 PSI, it's like, it's not doing shit. If you had a standalone in that car, you'd be like, and if it's at the point where the motor can make boost, like Mark's car, we were trying to leave at a really, it wasn't hooking good, so we were leaving at a low RPM. Well, the 427 at like 3,100 with those twins could only make like 5 pounds.
Yeah.
It could go positive, but it wasn't going to go 30.
Yeah.
We didn't want it to anyway.
The last lag, you left at like 2.6 fucking pounds. It went 183, and it was like, so you know, at 31 or 3,200, you could command fucking 15, but it's only gonna make like 4. It's like it's just
and
not
then
enough.
if you put his on the brake, if you put it on in like neutral and turn on the anti-lag, put it to the floor, it's like 28 pounds.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Because it's at that threshold where it can make.
Since it has more exhaust.
Might help.
That'll be cool. Hey Matt, was wondering how much you charge for the factory EC flash. Can you apply tunes to them as well? Thank you.
I don't really. I mean, I sell
Try to
them
avoid
sometimes.
Try to avoid that. Too much responsibility.
Yeah, I don't
when you
like
own the
selling
fucking
stuff
car.
to people because then I have to follow up with tunes and availability and help desk, and so I sell it to some people who are local or people that have come to my tuning classes or people that I know anymore. It's too much of a. I've gotten so many. Your ECU's bad. Your ECU's bad.
Nope.
And then I'll send the exact same ECU to somebody I know, and their car starts, runs. We bring it down, like John Pachuik.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's so many variables that you can have wrong besides the computer. And whereas we've fired 450 cars with this base tune, why doesn't yours?
Maybe you're the one that's wrong.
Yeah.
They say the smartest. They say the smartest people have the shittiest handwriting. I think it's safe to say you're a fucking genius.
Huh.
I
can't
already
read
knew
it
that.
sometimes.
So. All right. Question for Mark/Matt. In the white Mustang, did it ever lift the heads or blow head gaskets out with the
Never,
4-bolt
not
setup?
once.
Pushing
People think that's a myth because they push their shit too hard. Like their
I knew
ass
this-
is leaking every time they run.
There was this guy local to us that would always like he would go through LK or
They're
LK,
like, I'll just
LKT
pop-
motors all the time. Stock tune, like 12 pounds lift heads, and everybody's like, you need head bolts, you need this.
It's not
and
a
that's why-
clamping issue.
Yeah, it's you're putting 19 degrees in it at 20 pounds. That's what's happening.
That's what people say sometimes. Every now and then I'll knock a stock bottom end, pushing on it, leaning, or doing something stupid, or a lot of times something I know I shouldn't do. And they're like, "Why don't you just build it?" And I'm like, "Well, then I would blow up a $4,000 motor."
I'd rather blow up a $300
I don't
motor.
think you understand it. Just because it's a strong piston and rod doesn't make it invulnerable.
Every engine.
And whatever I'm doing
right,
incorrectly,
Yeah.
I'm doing incorrectly.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's the same theory with the LSX. I mean, you got the extra fucking bolts. You have all this pending force, and they're like, "Oh," I was like, "Are you gonna do the half-inch stud upgrade at all?" I'm like, "I already got 23 head bolts. If it's fucking popping at 23 head bolts, something is wrong with it too. It doesn't matter. You can put like fucking 3-inch bolts. It doesn't matter. You know, it's got
We
enough
made
bolts."
1,400 tire, and he went 180 miles an hour, and his overflow doesn't have a drop in it.
Right.
And I mean, his 4-bolt head didn't, and that's a 6-bolt head. So we apply the same tuning strategy. So it should be really fucking hard for us to push water.
Yeah.
But people, it's normal for some people. They're like, "Yeah, I just push water."
It's like, but then you.
Like it's every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Man, we don't." And there's like,
You're liars.
They're like, "You're lying." And I'm like, "How much ignition are you running?" You're
19.
running 10 more than you're double
you
my
got so
ignition.
much, you're detonating the fuck out of it.
I said, does the car pick up from? It happens a lot. So people come to run my dyno sometimes, and I'm like, that sounds aggressive. They'll have like 46 degrees in it, like all motor car, and I'll knock it down to like, it was small block Ford one time in one of my tuning classes. The guy had 46 in it on motor. He's like, "Yeah, it's so fast." I lowered.
46.
I said, I guarantee this small block Ford is going to make similar numbers on 33, and it did. It made better power on 33 degrees.
It was definitely your Ford.
And I'm like,
Lord,
you
don't need that, dude. You don't.
That's crazy.
13 over what you needed. Luckily, you didn't have a turbo.
Yeah, destroyed it.
Matt, would you ever like to build a stripped out bare bones drag car with a turbo LS junkyard motor to see how fast you could go?
Probably.
More burnouts.
I would be interested in that if someone I knew had a chassis car, and we could just.
Do it.
But I would never buy like a $25,000 chassis to put a
Like some guy waiting on his
$500 motor.
Some guy waiting on his Pro Line motor that's gonna be waiting 6 months.
I talked to my buddy Frank
Damage.
about it before because he has like
Oh yeah, that.
he had the
ODR.
vanishing point car sitting there, and I'm like, "What do you want for that?" He's like, "Oh, like 50 grand for the chassis." And I'm like, just for fun, like a 550 horsepower piece of shit, like a 4.8 paper head gasket 76, all that like in this car, how fast would it go with like 550 wheel? Like leave him with all it's got, leave him with all 550.
Because it would take it.
Yeah, because it was like a 33 by 26, you know.
And this shit's a heck ass.
And he's like with like no power, it would fly because it would cut like a 108, and it would just carry that momentum. He's like, it would be like a snowmobile. You know how those guys are like 60 foot, and they're like,
Layover.
they go like 87, but they go 9s at like 87 miles an hour.
Right.
Just because it's like 1-0.
It's
Like,
coming out like a fucking slingshot.
and he's like, that's what it would do. He's like, it would ET unbelievably fast.
Right.
And with no
People
weight
say you
restrictions
lifted
in a class or anything like that, you can make it light enough that it's scary to drive, even with 550 tires, and it just skates the whole time. So
Right.
I would be interested in that, but I would never spend the money. Like I said, if someone partnered with me and gave me a $45,000 chassis,
Or
not
just
to
rent
keep,
it,
but
just
just
to borrow
to
it.
do it
Just to do it.
and not ruin it.
Like, hey, I'm not
I would
gonna
be
cut off any tabs or anything.
I
I'll weld
am
it.
interested in seeing a result like that, but I would never just spend the money to just the economical part of my brain that like drives me.
They make fucking Wallace racing calculators to figure that out. You don't need to
Yeah.
fucking do it.
Yeah.
Say, oh yeah, they're fucking
2,200 pounds.
like
and
fucking
pound-
800 pound.
I think he means like, does the idea interest you?
It's cool. I mean,
For sure, but the logistics behind it are nope and stuff.
What are your fastest, most upsetting times for blowing up a motor after finishing the install? Unexpected catastrophic failures, stuck wastegates. What were your worst experience? I think there's
Oh, like same day. Like I think it means
I've done
blowing
it-
something up the same
I've
day.
done it within the week before.
You're like you thrash and then you start into hammers.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
if it's hammering same day, you're pretty much done.
95. Do you have any really fast ones?
not gonna. I've had a couple blow, but not right away.
Yeah,
Usually,
no, it sucks. 95 Chevy Impala LS3, first LSA, the first one. Give the Supercharged guys some tips.
How many more questions have we got?
We're 3.
Huh?
3 left.
Oh, we'll just do it.
Um,
3. He's like 3. I'm like,
Yeah, well, there's
Three
like one's like really
quarters?
long. Okay, 93 Impala. Basically, give the Supercharger guys some tips. You guys only do turbo shit. Give the guys running belt power some info.
we don't like belt
Find
power.
somebody to buy this blower.
Find somebody
Yeah,
to
let's-
on your blower and buy
Buy
some cheap
buy
China
some
girls.
China turbos and fucking hang on.
That's my blower.
I don't know,
power advice.
long tubes and get a decent cam and a converter.
Yeah, look for someone that's going fast that doesn't seem
And
like they're
copy
lying
them.
and copy the motherfucker.
That's what I did.
And then do your slight improvements from there.
And don't cram
That's-
timing.
I
in it.
feel like that's pretty good advice. Like look
Yep.
for someone that's doing what you want to do, and then has
Perfect.
not like if you
This
look up
is
a
a good
Vengeance
question,
racing
yeah.
car that costs $100,000 and you want to do that too, and you only have 10 grand, you're probably gonna struggle.
Right.
Be realistic.
Yeah, you're right.
This is
Be
a good-
honest with yourself and your budget.
This is a good question for Mark. These are really good questions. I agree. Not like dumbass shit.
That's why I'm like just keep reading.
If you were to build the notch again with the same goals, i.e. run 7s, would you change anything? I think I remember you guys saying you thought turbine housing was too small and creating back pressure. Would you change the housing or just
I
keep
would
it
love to
stock
do
crank
a
capacity?
GT55 88,
Yeah.
a 55 88
The real deal,
with like a
Holyfield.
118 turbine,
On a
and leave a
403.
4K if we need to with a glide, or like a D2 400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like leave
Yeah,
a little
yeah, once
softer, but a little
Just go
stupider
750s.
with more gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the GT55 horsepower cap. Now Jose has it. Well, you can get the GT50 88. Like Jarrett has, like
Right.
Jarrett always has some weird gangster
Yeah.
shit. So I always call it the
yeah.
gangster.
It's the
edition.
inside scoop.
Jared
on
has
stuff.
a-
Meat machine that
Jarrett has a
like nothing like
T4 KB Racing Manifold T4 98 turbine 88 millimeter billet.
Billet compression.
It's like
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's a GT55 88. It's a 98 turbine 88 millimeter
T4,
T4.
And a single turbo goes, I mean, I know you guys
And
are
he
iron out,
foot
but when it's not mile an hour, but almost as fast as you
Almost.
guys.
And he pedaled
On
like
a
3
single.
times. He pedaled like 3 times on that pass, and he went like 178.
That's fucking funny.
Foot brake.
125.
Yeah, it's a little bit more. Yeah, a little more turbo than the Mustang.
I think it's just bigger turbo. It's
And
more turbo.
a
Same
little-
fucking thing.
And take the 308s out and put like
'Cause it lit.
273s because that had a 3-speed in the fucking thing.
Yeah, we could light it. It would light and cut a 127.
123.
So like, fuck it, put more turbo on
It
there.
went 123 its best.
123.
Wow.
Yeah.
It would
On the
it would
DOT
cut
time.
127, 130,
Like
129, like religiously all the time.
So,
We almost it almost went teens.
It went 123 on that timer. Yeah.
I want to know what specific Chinese turbos are on the law. Well, up until 3 days ago, they were the T4. If you get on eBay, you have to type GT35 T4, and it'll show up. And they'll say like 0.68 AR.
Don't listen
turbines.
to anything. Just look for 60.
Yeah, look for the compressor inducer is about 61. It's like 61.7, and the exhaust exducer is like 61. I always call them 6161s. Throw the water lines in the trash. You don't need them. The restrictors are way too small that they send out. They're like 45,000.
Drill them to 120.
Yeah, I want 109.
8 inch, 130.
I went with 109, didn't have any bad results. So go 109 on the, maybe like 120. You go eighth inch, like 125 on the restrictors. Drill those out. And I loved them, man. They went really fast. The only issue I ever had was when I was sending rod and main bearing material through them, and they wiped them out. They're shitty turbos, that's why they're smoking. No, I was sending my rod and mains through them. And then he says, just the question. Mark has learned. Hold on, it's a fucking long run-on sentence. And would like input on twin turbo setup, specifically any tips either Law or Mark has learned on twin setups such as hot side sizing, oil return system, wastegate size, placement, etc. Power goal is 500 plus at the wheels. That's a lot of work for a
single
one.
turbo.
Yeah. Power goals, if you want twins, maybe get the T3. I know they make like a T3 version of the GT.
500 tires is super easy goal.
Yeah.
You can do it with almost, like I have like inadvertently made 500 many times. Like, 500
Whoops.
wheel. Like, well, this is a dog shit combo, 500 wheel. Oh, my converter is just like blowing through 500 wheel. Like it's pretty hard to screw up 500 tire.
Power
Unless
goal is 500.
Your turbo's not hooked up.
It's a Gen 3. I don't know, sizing, mine's 2.5. People say that's way too big. You have 3 on yours, right?
You're running 2 T3s, the inlet size is only like 2 inches flattened anyway. So you might-
Drains go.
it all depends on what you're
5
doing.
inches.
Like, just make it easy on yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's dash 4, which is 1/4 inch feed. I just have some push locks. The GT35s come with these little push locks for the drains.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just start doing it.
Walbro, okay. This is where it gets good. 450 Walbro through a dreaded 406D. Since we already have it, we prefer to disprove its bad rep. Good fucking luck.
Disprove it's bad.
No.
Is he gonna
Does
tell
it
us?
does
He's
it
gonna
run?
reinvent the wheel, yeah.
Does it
Prove
run?
to us
Sell it
it's
on
not bad.
Craigslist. Sell it on
Yeah.
Craigslist for $750 and buy a junkyard 4L80. If it's a 2-wheel drive, it's so easy.
Yeah.
It
There's a guide on the
460s.
wiki page.
406Ds aren't bad, but if you're gonna put power through them, it's just a terrible choice in my opinion. That's it.
Yeah,
Everybody,
it's
I'll
dumb.
clear this up because everybody think I just get bored and I make memes because I think I'm clever. Some people think I am. Some people get annoyed by me. That's why I make the 406D memes. I don't really hate them. I just think they're a terrible choice for horsepower.
Yeah. Why?
That's it. No specific quarter-mile goal. Yeah, 80E GT35s, maybe even the T3. Since you're shooting for 500, I suppose you probably want the packaging because they look cool. They're sexy. You know?
78, 75.
Yeah. Or single
Single.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my. I'm gonna make a thing. I'm gonna make a
78,
video soon.
yeah.
I'm gonna make a video soon that's like, if you don't know what the fuck you're doing,
no,
get this, and this, and just.
Do you have a
Yeah,
flow chart
yeah,
yet?
yeah.
Do a flow chart. Like, you know.
I did
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, if you want
Because
this,
people are
then
like,
go
how
there.
did you do that? And I'm like, I made motor mounts.
Here's the last question. First of all,
Jammed everything in.
thank you for everything that you do. Which I suppose is probably for you. Second, I'm getting ready to do my first ever LS swap on my '69 Camaro. Good choice. It will be primarily a street car, so reliability and faster spooling is important to me. Would I be disappointed in a larger single turbo setup, or should I spend the extra money on a twin turbo setup? For the swap, I have a complete drivetrain out of a 2004 GMC CR 2500 LT4 4L80.
78, 75, Jarrett cam.
Complete wiring harness. What do you recommend if I do budget for it? I'm very interested to hear more of the specifics about the '67 Camaro build. In this video, it sounds like that might be something I should try to mimic if I decide to go twins.
I hate twins.
But yeah, I
hate
wouldn't do it
I think
again.
it's stupid.
They're cool. They make awesome power, but it's a lot of work. Twice the
Just
amount-
don't pop
twice
your
the
hood and tell
shipping.
people you have 3 turbos.
It's
Wow.
all
I can't show you. They're experimental. Wow.
You can just make one big log, join them all together, and then just put them on
I've
like
seen
a
that
daisy
on,
chain,
like,
3
yeah.
turbos, and they grow.
People done that with like KO3, so like get enough.
I wonder what 3 GT35s would do on a 6-liter.
I don't know, maybe something.
You should do it.
You guys want to try it out at all?
Any, so yeah, 78, 75 on the
Single.
single.
Stock computer. Get someone in your area that can do it.
Coming from a guy that has twins, put a single on.
Yeah.
If you put the turbo over here, and you put it in an intercooler, and then you put it in the intake.
Yeah, it's simple. Happiness comes out.
Yeah. What's that Clarkson thing?
Yeah.
Exhaust gas moves in, the air gets sucked in, magic happens.
The world's going back.
Yeah. Is that it?
I think, yeah, that's all the questions.
All right,
I don't know if
that's-
you want to show them the cars or anything.
Not on this. This is a cut.
Yeah.
So hopefully everybody enjoys that.